All right. Well, hello, you beautiful people. This is Gary Horde, and this is the NWA, the podcast celebrating the past, present, future, history, legacy, and tradition of the greatest pro wrestling entity of all time. We're talking about the National Wrestling Alliance. That new edit to the intro brought to you by Robert Stinson. And I'm happy to be here. Speaking of Robert Stinson, he is, of course, as always on these recaps, going to be one of my co-hosts, along with Will Martin. Gentlemen, it's good to see you.
What's
both.
up?
What's going on, bro?
You guys look great. Rob Stinson showed up without a headband or a hoodie or anything, and it just didn't fly. It didn't feel the same.
I wasn't having it.
Okay, man, go fix yourself, Rob. I was like, I saw Lobby was coming. I saw her, and I was like, man, I'm gonna look my best for Lobby tonight. She's coming in the chat, so I was letting my hair flow, but they're like, dog, this don't work.
See, there you go. That's what you got to do. Lobby is very, very critical of our looks and behavior, so you got to be on top of your game. We appreciate her being there. James Lawrence just joined the chat. I'm just doing a bunch of shout outs as we build this thing up. I mean, we're here obviously to talk about tonight's events. CARNYLAND happened, gentlemen. Nobody knew what it was going in, and I'm not 100% sure everybody knows exactly what it is coming out. Whatever it is, early hot take. I guess we could go around the room for that. Early hot take. I'm in. I'm so in. I am a supporter on Patreon. So there.
Nice.
Same here. I'm a council member.
Yep. Same.
Oh man,
Rob, we went all in. Sorry, Will. We
those, man. You got to jump on that, brother. You need to jump on right now because there's only like 40 of them left.
Sorry, I was feeding my children right after the show, and I felt that was more important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lavi being sweet in the chat room. She says she does like good looks. That's true, and you all look good. That's very kind of you, Lavi.
Aww.
Yeah.
Hey, I did get a beard. I got a beard trim today. No, you guys didn't even notice.
I was about to say something,
fan,
man.
also a council member.
I was going to say, like you got a fresh trim there, Will.
Yeah, I got out of quarantine and got my beard trimmed.
Yeah, looking sharp, bro.
Nice, very nice. Well, everybody in the chat room, go ahead, let us know what you think. I see WWE Front Row saying exceeded my expectations. I loved it. Chris Johnson, all in. Masked fan, so am I. I'm a council member. WWE Front Row, I'm also a citizen. And Andrew McKinney, loved all of it. Every minute was great. Wrestling with the MMA, it was everything I didn't know I needed. So
correct.
This is the masked fan is now the masked council member. And Lave, you are probably the only girl in here. Yes. She's asking that in the chat. This is sadly, we're working on this. I had Maddie come on and do one of the recap episodes, and we're trying to make This Is the NWA not such a sausage fest all the time. But right now, yeah, it's you. And I think Vanessa Wiper in the Discord is like the biggest female interaction we get. So guys, so I don't even know where to start. Obviously, I'm going to do a complete rundown of the thing, but just while we're doing hot takes and first impressions, favorite spots.
Man, for me, I loved the Josephus. Obviously, you know me, I like all the stuff too, but the Josephus spot was just like I was rolling, man. Piper was like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm like, man, you got to see this. He's selling a book on how to be a champion, and he's yet to be a champion. It's amazing, you know. But you can go ahead and you can go ahead and put money down and reserve a spot for when he does, and then when he writes the book on how to, you get that key spot. It was amazing. I loved it. That was my favorite part of the thing. Allison K's bit too was good, but Josephus, man, I loved that a ton.
Yeah, mine was Allison K for sure. That was just as a wrestling fan who has seen. I mean, I don't even want to estimate how many hours of promos I've seen in my lifetime, and just the fact that, and like as I was watching it was kind of surreal because I'm like, this is a wrestling company making this, and like, you know, poking fun at themselves like in a way which I thought was just so cool, like that just self-awareness and like. acknowledging that part of wrestling culture and the humor in it and the cliches and stuff like that. I thought that was brilliant.
Oh, good. I think, so if I throw it in there, hashtag Jennifer's notes, her favorite segment belonged to Tim Storm. That was what popped her the most, I think. And I would lean, gosh, I don't know. I loved all of it, but laugh out loud moments, the most came for me from Zicky Dice's thing at the end. I did laugh a lot at Zicky Dice. I see in the chat room we're getting some love for all the other stuff, the promo class and Tim Storm's history lesson, but I'm seeing some love for the Eli Drake show and the introduction of that. And see Andrew McKinney in the chat saying the Aldis's experience with Carney Chris was his favorite moment in the show. So I love that. I love that everybody has different favorite parts of this thing. So fellas, I guess what we'll do is we'll just jump right into this thing, run it down. And while I'm here too, and we'll probably cover this more, and this is the NWA, but I don't know if you guys saw Camille also dropped a video. She seems to be dropping them at 7 o'clock on Tuesdays. Tuesday is just NWA day now. I've been using that hashtag, just NWA day. And Camille had a fun video with the tie-dyeing the shirts, doing crafts with Tom. And Tom is a quiet man, but there is he has some dry humor that I am really starting to appreciate with him. But anyway,
you got to go back and look at his makeup application voiceover that he did with Camille. I mean, she did several with several. I think she did one with Zicky and one with Ricky Starks, but the Tom Latimer, because we see Tom bullying Joe Galley, and we see Tom just being this real imposing, scary guy, and him voiceovering the makeup for Camille was just hilarious. It was his best stuff, man. It was cool. Y'all need to go back and watch that.
That's beautiful. So, all right, but we are here. Obviously, the big news on everybody's mind right now is going to be CARNYLAND. So let's just kick it off right at the top. Did you guys, had you settled in on any expectations about what this thing was going to be going in at all? Especially for me, I was getting more and more confused because of things like that image that's behind Will right now. That it looked like Full House episode or something was going to happen.
Yeah, I had it's kind of hard to explain. I expected everything. There's been so much, and I've talked about it almost daily since last Tuesday on my show, that there's a new theory every day, a new speculation, and all of them were probable and improbable at the same time. So I was kind of going in what could this possibly be? And I never would have guessed that it was what it was. I could have guessed little bits and pieces of it and stuff like that. But what it ended up being as a whole was just far greater than anything I could have expected.
I when we were talking with David Lagana the other night, I made it when he asked us what our thoughts. I was like, I think it's going to be something, behind the scenes, something sort of sketch comedy type oriented, and some of that came from some time I got to spend with Piper and Nick Aldis, and he had kind of given us a little bit of insight that he and Tom had done some stuff. And then of course I'd spoken with Sal Renaro, and he had said this. They didn't give me any spoilers, but I was thinking, they're probably putting, and you remember we talked the other day about the Brian Solomon book with CARNYLAND. I was thinking, the life of a pro wrestler is like traveling from carnival to carnival, man. I mean, like it was in the early days. And so I expected there to be some sort of vignette type orientation to it. But what really surprised me was this is not just Tuesday at 6:05, man. This is every day we've got something coming. And that to me was the big takeaway from that. That surprised me because I didn't expect this daily litany of content from different NWA personalities. So I'm stoked about that.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point, Rob. So as it turns out, I send this code out every once in a while. So it looks like we do have a surprise guest. I'm going to let them into the room, and we'll see who this is. And whenever they pop up, who we got?
Hey,
who's popped in?
J Cal, what's up, brother?
What up, players?
Jake
Man,
Cayley.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching your pre-show, and I was sitting there and I was thinking, Gary, we gotta get him on, man. So
Well,
you read my mind.
right now. It's
Gary
happening right
and
now,
I,
live.
Gary and I have had this long-standing relationship where I think both of us wanted to be on each other's show, and it's just now happening. So,
Yeah, here
Cool,
we
man.
are. It happened. Always enjoyed J Cal and respected what he does and the website. For those of you who don't know that are tuning in right now and you don't know who J Cal is for whatever reason, you've been living under a rock. He is the owner and operator of alliance-wrestling.com. That's the Alliance blog and the Alliance Guys podcast. This guy's been doing it for 13 years now. This guy's been covering the NWA back when nobody even remembered there was an NWA. Well, Robert Stinson never felt that way, but you know,
it was Robert, it was me, and like 6 other guys, and that was it.
yeah, that's a good point. Let's see, J Cal. So go ahead and we were just going around the room right now. We were giving first impressions on CARNYLAND. We haven't like gone into like a full rundown, but did you have a favorite part, first impression? Tell us a summation of J Cal's thoughts.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I appreciate the deviation from the norm. I thought it was pretty cool that they were trying something different. Obviously, we're not going to get live wrestling until things clear up with this pandemic. So we know that they're trying to do different things. Some of that stuff I felt was excellent. Some of it fell flat to me. And, one of the things that I really enjoyed was I loved Nick Aldis's bit about Carney Chris. I think I know who that promoter is, by the way, but I'm not going to say any names. But to me, like that's got my intrigue. That's got my interest. Tell me these stories of on the road. Tell me these bad promoters and these screw jobs that you had to deal with out on the road before getting to the NWA, or stuff you even had to deal with as NWA World Champion. I could watch a show all day about that. I really liked Allison Kay's how to do a promo. I thought the parody was excellent. How many promos have you seen where that exact formula is into place? Talk quietly, then yell into the microphone. I mean, it was money. I love that. I thought she did a terrific job. Even Tim Storm's, the school teacher perspective, the history with Tim Storm, I thought that was a lot of fun. Some of the things fell flat to me. I wasn't really into, the ominous voice of Stu Bennett being able to blink Joe Galley out of the picture. The Mongrovian stuff kind of fell flat for me, just to be honest. But I think it was more good than bad, and I certainly will tune in next Tuesday to see what they come up with next.
Yeah, well, man, we welcome all opinions, and even if everybody's not 100% on board with everything, what brought this up on is Jay actually texted me and was like, let's talk about this for a second. What'd you think? And I was all for it. I was like, I'm all in, but he kind of expressed some of those sentiments too, and so that was more of the reason too. I also wanted to be like, hey man, you should hop on tonight if you feel like it, because we want to be well-rounded here on the show. We want to welcome all opinions. And so I'm over here going to be loving on the thing all night, but we don't have to. Not everybody.
No,
but
look, brother, I've always said this about pro wrestling, man. There's 31 different flavors for everybody. I mean, it's veritable. If you like something, you can find someone that's going to provide that for you. The NWA has been my cup of tea. The studio wrestling, 100% on board. The 10 Pounds of Gold, the documentary type series, all on board. I'm really looking forward to what's causing all this. I'm really looking forward to the Inside the NWA. Some of the other shows, I'm not so sure I'm going to be 100% on board. I mean, I love Eli Drake. I don't know if I want to watch a show. I don't even know what it is yet, but I don't even know if I want to spend half an hour to an hour watching that show. I mean, maybe it is gold, and we'll see, but I don't know if I'm committed to that just yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I'm watching our chat room right now, just the people discussing what they're doing, and the WWE front row is saying in the chat that Zicky Dice was the only skit that didn't hit for him. I literally earlier said that was the one I laughed the most at, actually. So for me it worked, and for him it didn't. Vanessa Wipers in there talking about, what did she say? Stu made her laugh every time. So it's it's different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Absolutely.
Jay, you got a minute? You want to just jump into this rundown with us? We'll start from the top and head in, unless anybody else has got anything else before we just start talking about this thing step by step.
I'm here, man.
I'm going to take that as a no. I guess there's a delay. I'm sorry. So sometimes I'll say something and then it's like nothing. And I'm like, oh God, is it me? Is it dead air? But no, go ahead. I'm sorry. All right, now you guys are just screwing with me.
We collectively did that without even planning it. It just happened.
We made eye contact. We're like, hey, let's rip this guy.
Oh, great. Screw you guys. All right. So I think an undeniable part about this is that CARNYLAND, despite the way that it opened, which still, Will's in there with the logo, with the city view. I called it like a Full House looking logo behind him. But CARNYLAND opened up it almost did feel like they were about to do a scripted sitcom or something, I think, with the intro video. And then we go into this thing with Eddie Kingston, who made me question everything all over again, because Eddie Kingston, as Eddie Kingston is apt to do, cuts a fire promo, and but a very heartfelt promo. And so you're thinking CARNYLAND, it's clowns and gaga. And then there's Eddie Kingston. And he talks a lot about, just the situation that they're in right now. And that they're there for one thing. Sure, the money's one thing, but, you can only count so much money, that they're there for their legacy. They're there for how you're going to be remembered one day. What are you leaving behind? And that's what they miss, is putting on that show. And they miss us as fans. They miss performing for us. And but one day they're going to be back. Their names will ring bells. They will live on in eternity. And he hopes we're ready. And that's a kind of a quick summation of a promo that if you did not see, in my opinion, you absolutely have to see, because it goes up there with, you want to hear somebody talk about wrestling and what it means to them and their heart. Like Eddie just kills it every time. Guys, what do you think?
Oh, it was amazing, dude. And I was talking about this in the Discord too, and that was at the very beginning. So I was still at that point where I didn't really know what to expect. And I was starting to get really pumped up. And I think in my mind, I was like, we're not going to have wrestling, but is it going to be intense? And is this going to be, is this setting the stage for it? And obviously it wasn't in the long run, but I thought it was an incredible way to open it. Him just in a tank top, in his house. There was this weird paradox in my mind, because what he was saying didn't really match up with how he looked, because he was just standing in his house in a tank top, quarantine beard and everything. But I mean, dude, that guy could probably give those promos in his sleep, laying in his bed. So
I'm going to have to break the news to the lovely Tanya Stinson tonight that after that promo, I went and re-upped in the Army. I'm going back, man. I'm ready to go back to battle. It was so good. He's so believable. This guy could be if something were to happen and wrestling didn't pan out, which is ridiculous because it will, Eddie could have a career as an evangelist, man. He just inspires me. He is he is the most inspirational talker in the game. And I don't care. I've been following Eddie Kingston since his days with Mike Quackenbush up in Chikara Pro. And I love this guy. He is an amazing storyteller in the ring, a phenomenal athlete. He is my favorite talker, Eddie Kingston. I can't go on and on enough about him, man, all day.
My take is this, man. I mean, in a promotion that, let's be honest, they don't have the largest roster out there, but good Lord, do they have some well-spoken, great promo guys. I mean, Nick Aldis, I think is just absolute money when it comes to being on the mic. I also want to say that Eli Drake. I don't think there's anyone better on the mic than Eli Drake. But when you start now talking about Eddie Kingston, good God, can he cut a promo, guys? You know, I look at him week in, week out on Power, and when he gets out there on the microphone, connects with the crowd, I mean, he literally has you guys eating out of the palm of his hands. And tonight was no different. I mean, he's talking about passion and pro wrestling, and I was in a different place. I saw in the comments, I don't remember who said it, but somebody said on the page that Eddie started talking, and I was back in that studio. And that's genuinely how I felt. Like, I mean, man, this is a great open to a wrestling show. This is going to be awesome. And we did get something a little bit different, but good Lord, that promo from Eddie Kingston was money. I want to see that man as our national Mongrovian champion, or a television champion, or a top contender to that 10 pounds of gold, because week in and week out, I want to see him cut promos like this.
I've been saying that over and over again, that Eddie Kingston and Nick Aldis have a program down the road. Like, it's got to happen. Like, if there is a god of the NWA and his name is Billy Corgan, then he needs to make sure that he writes that down at some point, that the promos that those two could cut back and forth just from opposite spectrums of the wrestling business or the world, just their characters in general, just those two on the mic, face to face, like, that's money. I would give anything to see that happen. I don't know what it is about Eddie's voice that sometimes he has this like crack that happens, and you can't tell, like, is he sad? Is he mad? Like, what's happening here? And like, it just, but whatever it is, he has this way of looking straight at you and deep into your soul, and just, you cannot look away while he's talking, and you're invested in everything that's coming out of his mouth. As you were saying that, J. Cal, I was thinking, he's one of the ones that I can't imagine why he doesn't have a job in another promotion. And then as I was thinking it out, I was like, oh no, it's because he's very, very good at talking, and nobody else would know what to do with that. Yeah. And so he doesn't, he's not a Nick Aldis build. And right. But go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. You're someone would stifle him. And I think, you know, about his voice, I've thought the same thing, but I think, you know, his voice is very tortured. You know what I mean? It's like, we talked about this the other night. It's like, it's the best personalities in wrestling are people that are authentic, that are who they are. And you look at Nick Aldis, he is who he is. You look at a Ric Flair, an Adam Pearce, and an Eddie Kingston. These are people who, they never played a role, man. Eddie Kingston, when I see him, I don't see this guy as like, here's my gimmick and I'm playing this character. Eddie Kingston is Eddie Kingston. I mean, I feel him, man. I believe him. When he said, we will all live forever. We do it for name, for legacy. We will never die. I mean, gosh, man, I was like, Tanya, I'm never going to die. I mean, it's like, I believe Eddie Kingston, man. And that's because Eddie Kingston is real. He's real. I feel him.
When he said our names will ring bells, like, you know, sometimes there's just like a key phrase that you can, like, I feel like I'm going to remember that the rest of my life when it comes to wrestling as a promo. And it was a cell phone video from Eddie Kingston. It wasn't even at a live show, but, you know, our names will ring bells. That's just so symbolic. And I loved the thoughtfulness behind that, and just, you know, what it means. And, you know, he was summing it up with that. And I had chills, man. It was good.
It's almost the way that Rob just described his voice as tortured, that I was like, oh, that's the word. That was exactly the word that it should have been that whole time. So that was a perfect description. And now every time I see Eddie Kingston, that's exactly what I'm going to think of, is his voice sounds tortured. Jake, do you have anything else you wanted to add before we move on to the next part of this?
I mean, let's think about just where we are in the world today, where technology and you know, ingenuity are at an all-time high, and we're talking about a promo that was shot on a cell phone, and it elicited that kind of reaction out of 4 different fans in 4 different states, as far as I know. And it just, all 4 of us are saying the same thing. Damn, that guy can cut a promo. I mean, what does that tell you about wrestling and how it connects with an audience? I mean, this wasn't on, sorry about that. This wasn't on some sort of huge, like, network. This wasn't WWE. It wasn't highly produced. It was just a clip from a phone.
It says something to me right off the bat, especially with this show and everything else, that we are supporters of the most creative brand that there is, and that demands, not like in a dictator fashion, but we've said this 100 times, but like the fandom of this brand creates all on its own too, and is like free publicity for these guys. It's amazing too that what you'd expect out of them is they prove each and every time we see them that they, with this Eddie Kingston promo, it's like, okay, well, we don't have WWE's money, but we don't need WWE money. Like we're just making stuff happen, and we can make you feel either way. It doesn't matter. Credit where it's due. I did mix this up. It did start with the Eddie Kingston promo, so that weird wacky ass intro video didn't happen until after. So the tone shift wasn't as crazy as I imagined, because my next note was, what is this on the opening? So I was like, okay, all right. So let's get to a part that's going to be a little more divisive, I can imagine, which is the intro from Joe Galley, who's telling us he's in CARNYLAND. He's hanging out there. He's been, I don't know, transported there or whatever it is that Joe Galley's doing, but he's living in CARNYLAND for the next little while. And he's not sure what's going to happen and where he's going to go. And then all of a sudden, Stu Bennett, who has been developed into the entity known as Stu Bennett, or as I wrote in my notes here, he became Microsoft's Cortana. He is floating around the screen, and he can disappear Joe Galley on a whim. Stu says he's the narrator of this story. So they couldn't afford his appearance fee, apparently, so they just got his voiceover. And he describes that what we're about to see is CARNYLAND is more than just one show, or Galley says that, one or the other. Anyway, this whole segment, take it away, fellas. What did we think on this one? Or where was your headspace at?
I know, and I obviously I respect the world out of what Jake House says. To me, a lot of what I gauge off like Piper's response, because I've always felt like wrestling should be palatable for everybody in the family. And then people are going to disagree, and that's okay. I mean, there are people that like that hardcore extreme stuff, but for me, in my context, if it's not digestible for my kids, I don't want any part of it. I don't want to see somebody flipping off a kid at an autograph signing. I don't want any part of that. That's not entertaining to me. That's offensive, and it's demeaning to the sport. But Piper loves Joe Galley and Stu, man. She loves it. So my initial instincts are like that. I understand these guys are enhancement talent, and they're narrating the kind of the story along. But I got to go with Piper on there. I thought it was cool, I guess. If she hadn't been here, I'd have been like, but it was cool.
I think I said out loud to my kids who were looking at their tablets, not watching the TV, that I said, "Oh, Joe Galley," and then I mean that was just I kind of eye rolled a little bit, but I'll say this: by the end, because it's a recurring segment, by the end I was chuckling a little bit, but the first one I was kind of like, okay, we gotta get through this, because we just heard Eddie Kingston cut a fire promo, and now we got Stu Bennett making Joe Galley disappear. So I was kind of ready to get through that.
My take is again, I'm not a huge fan of the silliness of it. I mean, I see where it plays a role, and especially in this kind of storytelling, you need to be able to advance the story. There does need to be a narrator, and there does need to be a way to go from one scene to the next. But I look at Joe Galley and I see a newsman. I mean, an award-winning newsman, and I take him very serious. I've known of Joe Galley for years, because he was the voice of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood for 2 or 3 years, and I'm not trying to discredit what they did tonight or anything like that, but I see him in a certain light, and it was kind of hard to see him as comic relief, although I know he's played that role quite a bit in NWA Power. And I'm even one of those guys that, refer to him as clickbait Galley because of all the the silliness with him and Camille. But at the end of the day, like, look, they do have to advance the story. I get it. Not a huge fan of it, but I mean, there's also, this is episode 1. And I think if you were to rake NWA Power on the very first episode, I mean, there was a natural progression. The show got better as it went on. And I think CARNYLAND is going to have the similar fate. It's just, they're going to take what works and go with it. And what doesn't work, they're going to discard, just like everything else.
That's a great point, Jay. And this thing, like anything else that they do, is going to evolve. Looking at the chat, I will say, Stinson and you, like I fall like kind of in the middle of the spectrum from like where you guys are on that kind of stuff. For instance, one we'll deal with a little bit later, but like with Question Mark and the Aaron Stevens stuff, I generally, to be honest, and it was no secret on my previous live chats, that I was not a fan of that stuff. I thought it was dumb. And I was like, how is this guy ever going to actually face Nick Aldis? Can you picture that? Like, this is silly. At the same time, the first time I ever saw Robert Stinson, he and his entire family came dressed up as Mongrovian karate students. And there was a
karate
part of my karate, exactly. Part of my cold, dead heart woke back up and was like, okay, wait a minute. There is another side to this. And that's super special too. So I've come to respect what those guys do. And so it's the same. I look at some of this stuff and I'm like, all right, but what would Gary in 5th grade have loved? Like, would he have thought this was cool? And,
well,
so I did try to look at it.
First of all, Gary, we didn't come dressed as Mongrovian karate students. Okay, we are Mongrovian karate students. We earned those. Okay, point A. Point two. Point two. I think one of the things that, and I think Jay Cal can speak to this. I now want to say Jay Kale. After hearing your podcast earlier.
Oh, I know. He screwed us up on the pre-show today.
Right. One of the things that Jay Cal mentioned earlier is that, like, or what he will appreciate, is that back when you go back to like Crockett days, watching like Crockett promotions in 86, 87, 88, every single storyline was meaningful. You never thought that Jimmy Boogie Woogie Man Valiant was going to take the title from Ric Flair. You never thought that, but that storyline between him and Paul Jones and his army, the hair versus hair match, Shaska Watley's betrayal, Manny Fernandez's betrayal. And there was some like there was some humor in there. I mean, Boogie Woogie Man is a funny guy. I mean, every time he brought Big Mama out and stuff. So you got to realize that there has to be, when you're promoting wrestling, you've got to serve a wide audience to keep them all, because you're going to have kids there. You're going to have people there that are like me, that are in for the prize fight, the Nick Aldis versus Marty Scurll. You're going to have your Will Martins who are in there, who love these big talkers, man, and love these guys who wear their emotions on their sleeve. So you've got to cast a wide net. So I think I've always felt like with Joe Galley or with Question Mark, those things that like turn my kids onto it, that's a gateway to them starting to respect the sport of professional wrestling for a competitive sport. So there's all that in there.
Well, and it also, I would imagine, it helps you also enjoy it a little bit more, because you can enjoy it with your family. There's aspects of it too that you can share in, so that makes it easier. These guys, Piper, she's just brilliant young lady, but I imagine that she could not care less about a 1 hour match between Nick Aldis and, I don't know, Marty Scurll. Like it's right. Like she probably doesn't get as much out of that as she does out of seeing Question Mark do a karate demonstration. I do want to throw to the chat sometimes, just to make everybody feel included in this. And I'm seeing stuff in here talking about the Lagana's talent. We do appreciate David Lagana. I hope, if you didn't, you should definitely DM him. If it's something you enjoyed, tell the guy that you liked it. I made sure I did, that I thought he edited together a great show. But to go more on the topic that we're talking about, WWE Front Rows, and they're saying Joe Galley is the Kenny of CARNYLAND. You can see that That makes a lot of sense to me. And Vanessa says, makes sense. Stu's a heel. Bye, Galley. So she bought into him making Galley disappear. Lave, she says, those two are quite funny to me, actually. Joe Galley is an adorable puppy. And
Sorry.
So again, mixed bag with responses. And, so you got to pass that around. Dave Scooby's in there saying at least there were no sightings of Danny Deals in CARNYLAND. So
Thank you.
Hey, no Mama Storm either so far.
Yeah, that was my thing. Is I never hated Danny Deals so much as he was Mama Storm, and I don't know if I expressed this as much at the time, but it was like the thing with the Mama Storm was like I think I did in my drunken episode that she'll forever go unseen, probably.
Was that last week's episode?
Yep.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, what is he drinking and how do I get some?
We were talking about this beforehand. I was like, all right, yeah, that's when I gotta cool it a little bit. But anyway,
he was drinking that Conor McGregor whiskey.
It's true. That's the proper 12 for anybody who cares. And there is some over here next to me right now.
Here we go.
Small sips, and I didn't bring the bottle. So it's this is the first and only.
Gary, you're a true professional in the same vein as Howard Cosell and Tom Likas. Let's do this.
There you go. Hey man, just gotta grease the wheels a little bit, All right, so moving on from Joe Galley and Siri Stu Bennett, we move on to the next segment, which was called Stories from CARNYLAND. Yeah, it's segment Stories from CARNYLAnd. Aldis tells the story of his he talks about being in the NWA now, but this wasn't his first time having an experience with the NWA. He tells the story with Carney Chris and Doris at the hotel. And for me, this was kind of a cool part. I really enjoyed this. Just a neat little side story from Nick Aldis. Like, hey, by the way, I dealt with the NWA back in the day, and this is how that went. And just kind of an interesting thing. And just the way that they edited that video together was an interesting choice to see that Lagana chose to use, I guess, stock footage, to and just get the voiceover from Nick Aldis. But for some reason, to me, it worked. Like it actually did work as the story progressed. So I was into it. What did you guys think on this one?
I thought it worked well. I thought the story was great. I was hooked from the get-go because, kind of like J. Cal was saying, I mean, I could listen to that kind of stuff all day because just growing up, being a wrestling fan, I mean, there's like a mystique and an air about it. And you always want to kind of peek behind the curtains. I love hearing stories like that. I love that. Hopefully that's going to be a recurring thing with either Nick or anyone else, in the NWA to hear some stories like that. Cause it was fascinating to me.
I'm hesitant to comment because I see the Fortson and wrestling with the MMA on there, and they're just waiting for me to mark out to Nick Aldis. But again, I love those stories. I mean, I have a lot of friends up here in North Georgia who do work in the indie circuit, and so I've seen this scenario play out before. With workers getting screwed over by promoters and this and that. So it was cool, man. I love that, and just hearing, for me, it's so surreal. Like Nick Aldis kept going. Maybe he says it later on when he talks about going from laughing stock or from punchline to headline. But I just can't imagine. It's just crazy to me to imagine Nick Aldis like being beholden to a booker for a hotel room and that not working out, and then not laying out the red carpet for him. Knowing what he's become. So it was neat to get inside those Carney days, as it were.
Yeah.
Well, right now I'm just trying to find when that match happened, because I'm pretty sure I know which promoter it is, and I was totally going to throw him under the bus, but unfortunately I'm not finding where that event exactly took place and when exactly took place. So I won't say anything more about it, but this is exactly the kind of content that I thought CARNYLAND was going to be from the very beginning. I know that Gary, you've talked to Dave Lagana quite a bit, and he mentions brother, and all the Carney talk that he had to deal with before the NWA kind of started promoting live events again, even before the 10 pounds of gold and all the shenanigans that he had to deal with to get to that point. So for me, like this was nice. I thought this was very good. It was a great way to, you know, show you a different side of Nick Aldis, because again, so many people just look at him as, oh, that's the guy that was from Impact. You know, they don't really take into consideration his time at Global Force Wrestling, which eventually became Impact, but that was something different, right? They don't talk about his time in Pro Wrestling Noah or his time with Ring Ka King in India. Most of the people just look at Nick Aldis as, oh, he was that TNA guy from the UK, the British Invasion. But no, I mean, he had matches all over the United States. He was wrestling outside of the Impact for quite a while before he came to the NWA. So I know there are probably at least a dozen more stories like that. And I mean, Lagana's got some great ones. I hope he will release in some sort of format on this vehicle, CARNYLAND. But yeah, this is probably my favorite part of the show. And I look forward to hearing more stories like this. And that's one of the reasons why I'll be tuning into what's causing all this, you know?
Mm.
Oh yeah, 100%. And you know, Andrew McKinney in the chat is bringing up another story. He said he heard a Tim Storm interview where he mentioned something about a promoter trying to get him to drop the championship after Billy bought the NWA. I'd love to hear more of that story on CARNYLAND.
I know that story.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like in the interview that I got to do with Lagana, he told us a little bit about that you know, that so it's kind of one that's out there. You can find it, but I feel like that's 100% like a perfect story for exactly this kind of thing, to let Tim Storm go on and tell that story that essentially, you know, the short summary of it would be is that yes, when Billy did purchase the NWA and they started to get rid of the affiliates or whatever, somebody was going to pay Tim Storm a chunk of change to come in and drop the belt to someone because they thought it would be, I guess, a nice bargaining tool. J. Cal, you may know more a little bit about it than that, but that was the gist of it that I got. Definitely makes for a good CARNYLAND story, because I could see where Billy had when we talked to Lagana, one of the things I remember him talking about was that they had an initial idea that they possibly could keep territories alive, you know, in a way, that these independent promotions that support the NWA, if they could get everybody behind their ideas of what wrestling was going to be. But it was very quickly that they learned, no, it's a bunch of carnies and it's brother, just like Jake Cal said. And it's like, how many deals can we make? How many, how high is the 6-figure contract you're going to pay me to, you know, do this with you, and blah, blah, blah. And nobody wanted to actually work to build something. And then they eventually just decided that it was, all right, let's wipe this slate clean and start over again. So anyway, so yeah, Tim's probably got a great story there. Front Row saying Lagana shared that story on Busted Open as well. Tim Storm's perspective.
There were a lot of guys, and I won't tell the story, I won't get into it, but there were a lot of guys who were very begrudging the new ownership. And this is a story for another time, but essentially when the NWA was sold, the previous owner, this all happened at Cauliflower Alley Club, which is an annual convention where wrestling legends go to meet, and the fans come, and there used to be shows at that event as well. And this happened, all this was going on, and he didn't smarten up any of the other, at the time they were called licensees, because they weren't members anymore. The NWA had for years been multiple promotions with members who had voting rights, and it was kind of like almost like you own stock in the NWA. When Bruce Tharp won controlling interest of the National Wrestling Alliance, the first thing he did was did away with those memberships and had licensees. So all these guys had paid, you know, I think the number was like $350 to $550 for their license for the year. And so here we are, I think it was like in April or maybe May when they made the announcement. And all these guys are like, wait a minute, what? the NWA sold. So what does that mean for my membership? What does that mean for my guy who's the champion? And so much chicanery happened during that time. And there were a lot of hard feelings. A lot of people didn't want to do business with Lagana because he was looked at as the boogeyman, when in reality, they didn't do anything wrong. They bought the NWA. They honored all of those licenses until the end of the year, till the end of the fiscal year that the members had already agreed upon. So it's just, yeah, there's a lot to that. Like I said, it's a story for another time, but absolutely.
Well, you can see specifically like where they would get the idea that they want to come up with CARNYLAND. Like they've definitely dealt with their fair share of deals and finaglers and what, I don't even know what the word would be, but Jason Havlick, by the way, is in the chat saying he loved Rinka King. So you got to pop for that, J. Cal, for mentioning that randomness. And Andrew McKinney says he likes saying brother a lot and he feels targeted. And let me tell you something. I feel that same way every time I communicate, like with any of them. Like every time I've talked to Aldis, besides Lagana, Aldis is the other one that will, like, when he tells stories, even when he'll go from his British accent to be like, and then we said this, and then the guy was like talking to me and he was like, hey, brother, let me tell you something, dude. Let me work with you, brother. Brother, this is a great deal. And so I'll be like, oh, man, brother, that is a cool story. Ah, shit. I just feel like an ass.
Gary doing a British person doing a Southern accent. That was Inception right there.
Oh yeah, that was it.
That's CARNYLAND, man. That is CARNYLAnd.
That is, man.
To be nominated for an award on some sort of podcast award.
You're gonna get
Maybe one day.
Hey, brother.
Hey, shout out to David Lagata, who is in the chat right now, saying, listen here, sister.
I think that's going to catch on, by the way. Listen here, sister.
That's a good idea. All right. So moving on to the next spot in this show, the CARNYLAND College. I've seen nothing but positive, so I'm interested to see what you guys think about it. Is Allison Kay happy? I got to tell you right off the bat, I was just happy to see Allison Kay. Like, I feel like it's been forever since I've seen Allison Kay, and I missed her. And I know that may be weird or creepy, but it was just that she's been people like Camille and Thunder Rosa have been pretty prevalent on social media and everywhere. And I feel like Allison Kay doesn't pop up as often, but she's somebody that I really enjoyed and somebody I really respected. And to see her pop up and for me deliver straight fire and a fake promo, I just really enjoyed giving the cliche promo for CARNYLAND College. What'd you guys think of this whole segment?
I literally took notes. I have the script right here in case I put it here in my Google Keep notes, just in case I'm ever in a position where someone's like, hey man, you got to get out there and cut a promo. I'm like, I'm ready. I thought it was, as I said at the beginning, I think this might've been my favorite part of the whole show. It's definitely the part I popped for the most, where I was like, the further she went in, I was just like, oh gosh, yes. Yeah. I felt like I was in church, like amening, like, yep. And so I just, I was trying to see if there's anything that stuck out to me about what she said. Well, I love that, she said, you always got to open up with the name of the event, the venue, and the opponent. Like you start out, with that, and you're invisibly washing your hands. I mean, everything was just, was perfect. Yep. J. Cal's got it.
I remember Chris Benoit when he first came to ECW. Can we say that name? I'm sorry, guys. When
J. Cal, thanks.
When the Crippler showed up, and they made a point, like, I don't remember what I watched.
Make it better calling him the Crippler.
So that wrestler, who shall go nameless going forward, was like always rubbing his hands, and they said that was like a shooter thing, and you're really kind of getting those wrists ready, but it kind of turned into like the evil, like, I'm hatching a scheme here, and that doesn't go any better for what happened. Let's change the subject. I'm sorry.
No, That's
yeah,
great.
Allison Kay was great. I love seeing Allison Kay as well.
Yeah, Allison Kay was amazing, and that was my second favorite part of the show. Like honestly, that the parody, it was funny, but it was serious. And I mean, it's Allison Kay. She can cut a great promo too. We talk about those in the NWA who can cut great promos. Let's not forget about Allison Kay. And I always enjoy when she's in front of the mic, when she's in the ring. I think she's a hell of a competitor. And I'm glad they found something for her to do on this first episode, and I hope it continues.
Hey, and next week we get Go Away Heat 101. So
Yeah,
I can't
that's our
wait for
next
that.
lesson.
I love Allison Kay, man, and I just I've always been enamored by her. I think like Gary was saying, I think she's one of the essential components of the women's division in the NWA, which I think is the most vibrant division anywhere. I mean, she's gorgeous. First of all, I mean, I'm not to sound carnal or anything like that, but she's just a beautiful woman, and I love to see her talk. She cuts a great promo. She's one of those ones who's those workhorses. And I'd like to get J. Cal's response on this. Like I always my analogy for her is like, when you think back to like the NWA in 83, 84, 85, it's like Ric Flair is overshadowing everything. Right now, it's like we've entered this age where it's like everybody's talking about Camille and Thunder Rosa, which they should be. Those, I love them. They're awesome. They're my favorites. But, let's not forget that Harley Race was still very prominent from 83 on for a couple more years, and he even had another title run. And so I don't think that the sun is set on Allison Kay at all, man. I think she's got a lengthy title run ahead of her, and I love this segment. And it's hard for me to rate like what's my most favorite because, I guess we naturally think in those sort of nominal, ordinal ways. But Allison Kay was up there for me, right up there with the Josephus segment, man. I thought it was tops. Really loved it.
Yeah, and for me, like this is something I've talked about in previous conversations we've had, but the thing I love the most about the NWA is that they don't insult our intelligence. They know that we're smart wrestling fans, and they're making content that, like I said, I mean, they're poking fun at themselves because they know that we know that, and they want to entertain us. And that's, to me, that's like a huge tip of the hat to us as actual fans of pro wrestling, not sports entertainment, not UFC, not that kind of stuff. Like we're fans of professional wrestling. And so, the fact that there's that self-awareness and they can actually turn it into entertainment says a lot about, how much they respect us as fans.
I think for sure, because Robert, you asked, I don't think that Allison Kay's tenure with the NWA will remain out of the spotlight. I definitely think she will hold, the women's championship more than once. Can we call that the Burke title? I mean, we got the 10 pounds of gold. Can we call that the Burke? I think Allison Kay is going to hold the Burke again and again and again. And you remember the greatness that is Ric Flair. I mean, there's a reason why he held that title so many times, because he lost it so many times. That creates the lore, man. It's one thing to be the champion. It's one thing to chase down the championship. It's another thing to hold on to that championship. And there's compelling storylines either way. So, I mean, we've got right now Thunder Rosa looking like she's going to have a showdown with Melina, but that doesn't mean Allison Kay is gone and done and forgotten. No. That just means that her opportunity to challenge is coming soon.
Man, I saw that countdown. I wanted to tell him. There you go. I saw that countdown coming. I don't want to interrupt your great comments, man.
Yeah, this camera is great. Quality is great. It just I don't know how to fix the settings on that timer there where it just shuts off. So sorry about that, but I'm here now.
No, we believe you. We're here, and you'll just take on the Stu Bennett role when you disappear. So
that's it.
Stu, add toilet paper to my grocery list.
Adding toilet paper to grocery list.
Thanks, Stu.
I love the Fortson in the chat saying pinkies up for Allison Kay. So pinkies up over here and all around. We do love Allison Kay. I think you guys are 100% dead on. Allison Kay did not drop the title to never have it back again. And I know for a fact that she would be on board with calling that thing the Burke because she is never hesitant to talk about Mildred Burke and her love for the history and legacy of women's wrestling, especially with someone like Mildred Burke. Allison Kay is in a moment where not to break too much kayfabe, I don't think, but I guess the idea would be that she just was in a place where like one of the hottest women stars of any promotion happened to walk on the stage at the time. But as time goes on, I mean, for me, I know that a lot of people feel this way. I see Lavi in the chat talking about AK has looks and fierceness. She's so cool and so talented. People respect Allison Kay, and Allison Kay's got a great future ahead of her. This to me for her is just, we're still like at the early half of her career. I think Allison Kay has potential to be one of the greats.
I think Allison Kay is this division's version of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Wow, that's a big word. So So we shall see. Next up, we get some more galley time. I won't dwell on it too much. And folks in the chat, I just want to say, by the way, we didn't talk about this beforehand. I'm trying to get to your comments as we go along, but also this is going to be an audio version for the podcast too. So I want to run through the recap. But like we used to do back in the day, if you saw me on Livecast, I'm happy to stick around after we run through the recap and just talk to you guys directly and give you a little time for showing up here live, because God bless you. There, you guys, that the chat room is active, and we love that you guys are communicating with each other.
And it's fun because that's what we call Gary's whiskey time, and it's you get the more honest take.
you get the more hunched over.
True. I got more whiskey.
Gary looking like he's about to fall off a bicycle, man.
Yeah, he gets
that right now.
Hey, I'll give you guys the cheat. I'll give you guys the code. Like the more he drinks, he gets lower on his camera. So this level right here, this is like the peak. And then it's like
you're peaking now, Gary. You're peaking now, bro.
And when he gets here, it's like it's over.
No, now's not peaking. Now's me laughing and slightly embarrassed, and also just super impressed that I've been doing this with you guys for just a week or two, and you already know that. And it's
own it, Gary. Own it. It's you, baby.
Yeah.
Own it.
Look at what you've built. Look at what you've built, Gary. This is
here. Here it is. Oh man. All right. So we're gonna move on. Thank you, everybody, with the CARNYLAND and Tri-Town, says David Lagana. So
can I say one more thing? Can I say one more thing, Gary?
Go ahead, buddy.
What I love the most about this show is authenticity. I mean, we hear the NWA brag about it, preach about it, and 100%, I want my wrestling to be authentic. Oh man, I can't talk anymore. But that exudes.
Probably nailed it.
And I'm drinking bubbly. I'm not even drinking booze. But what I'm saying is the authenticity that comes from you and Robert and Will. I mean, it's very infectious. I was watching last week sitting in a hot tub, and I was like, damn, these guys are having a good time. I wish I was on that chat instead of sitting in the hot tub. So here I am.
I love that you threw that in there. You can't hide money. So I was chilling in the hot tub.
Hot tub with the bubbly.
It's like watching you guys on the flat screen.
Well, you know.
And for the people on the podcast, when he said bubbly, it was like the soda water bubbly, not like
not the Jericho bubbly.
Yeah. I got to clarify for the audio listeners.
Sorry.
Well, I do see in the chat that Gary is as sweet as bourbon, so I'll take that one, and we'll end the bourbon conversation there for now. Next up, you got Eli Drake talking about he is how long is he going to go until he loses his job? I guess a lot of Eli Drake cursing and a nice little promo for the Eli Drake show. And my favorite part happens to be that he was obviously set up for a podcast, and there were a few moments in this show that I felt personally attacked, but I'm rolling with it. But Eli Drake setting up for the podcast and walking off into the portal with the tinfoil hat at the end. I popped for that. That was good stuff. What'd you guys think about the Eli Drake show and the little intro commercial here?
I love Eli Drake, man. I mean, I could see why not everyone does, but I think his just demeanor and the way that he talks, is is infectious, and it kind of, energizes me. So I liked it overall.
This is, and going back to something J. Cal said earlier about Eli Drake being so charismatic, I never really felt, this is by way of preface here. I never really felt Eli Drake going back to like his Impact days. He would do the whole, let me talk to you, dummy. I never liked that. That was always like off-putting to me. I was like, yeah, come on. I know who says that, But when we saw him in the studio, like I was instantly captivated. I saw exactly what you're talking about, J. Cal. This guy is main event charisma type talent. He got me in. Nevertheless, this was probably my least favorite show or my least favorite segment, just because, again, and I'm not here to preach to anybody. Not everybody has my context and all that, and that's perfectly fine. The world is big enough for all of us, but I don't like to explain to Piper what's being bleeped out, this and that. It's just, I don't have time for it, but I like Eli Drake. I've grown to really like him. I think that he potentially is someone like a Dusty Rhodes type foil to Nick Aldis. He has main event caliber status for me. I don't like the bleeping out of things. Again, if it's not palatable for my kids, I don't have a lot of time for it.
As not a father, and I think all three of you gentlemen are maybe, but I feel like when it's bleeped out, you could just fill that in with anything. Like, what did they bleep out there? He said, love your dad and do everything he tells you to do.
Well, you can, but it's kind of like, also coming from an educator, it's like when we're at a football game, I'm also an athletic director of school. When we're selecting songs to play for the pre-football game warm-up, it's very hard to find a song without inappropriate lyrics, but it's better just to leave them in, because when you bleep them out, everybody's like, oh, they just said something wrong. It draws your attention. So to me, like, when it's bleeped out, Piper is like instantly clued in, and oh, he shouldn't have said that. So it just and there are people that's cool for, and I'm not here to preach to anybody. I know who I am, and I've got my own thoughts, and I'm not some kind of marble man or anything like that. I'm just a dad. And for me, I like Eli Drake a lot. This was my least favorite segment, along with something, believe it or not, for the Fortson and for Wrestling with MMA, something that Nick Aldis said. That I really didn't appreciate, and that's when he later on referred to walking out of the S&M party. I don't want to have those conversations. I don't, that's for me. I don't like seeing that.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, so, that's good.
But this is, again, no shade. People can consume different things, and I'm not the standard at all. But just since you asked, and we're here shooting straight, I like Eli Drake. This was my least favorite segment.
No. I want all perspectives. I mean, that's the point. And J. Cal, I'll throw to you in just a second. I'm sorry to jump in here, but one thing you said that I really wanted to hit on is I do appreciate you as an educator making that point about the music and the bleeps, and then it makes it where people know that something wrong was said. I hated. And to this day, I mean, if you've ever seen my other podcasts, I mean, we talk about this a lot with the movies and stuff like that we discuss. I hate censorship. Like, I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. I want people to learn, and hopefully you have enough of a value system and I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but basically, like, hopefully you're put together well enough as a person that you can piece this together on your own. And,
right.
So I know that me as a child, I grew up in a very religious environment and that sort of thing. But like, if you told me I could not hear something, or that you cut it out, that was 100% a guarantee I was going to freaking find that thing. Like, I was like, when they were shutting down Marilyn Manson, I was like, what is Marilyn Manson? I need to know everything about Marilyn Manson. It was like all of that stuff.
Let me qualify that too, Gary, because people are going to see Piper's notes and they're going to see me and Piper rocking out to Marilyn Manson. And this is not like we have a religious household. I'm not here to preach to anybody, but this is a matter of like public decency, and not a matter of rightness or wrongness, because I think there's a place for harsh language and all that. But it's like going back to like Tom Latimer's promos, who I love. Tom Latimer, I love him, man. I think he is one of the most imposing, intriguing forces. But like, it's like every time in the studio he comes out, man, he says something that has to be edited out of the show. But at the same time, we can't tolerate that and then tell the crowd you can't say this. if the talent are going to say that, you know, you can't go then and turn around to the audience and say, you can't chant this. You gotta strike a balance. So I'm not sure where that is. Again, I don't have my finger on it because, you know, I like rock and roll, and I don't think everything in rock and roll is like civically upright and all this kind of stuff. But, you know, if we're talking about matters of preferences here and not like absolute rights and wrongs, it was my least favorite. So that's all I'll say about that. Enough of this, of the preaching.
No, I hear you, buddy. No, that's what we're here for, man. We want all perspectives. I mean, this is important stuff. J-Cal, let us know what the Alliance blog thought.
So Eli Drake's my guy. Eli Drake is, although not SoCal born and bred, he is a SoCal guy. He was cutting his teeth out with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood many moons ago. In fact, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but he was part of a tag team called Natural Selection, which was him and Brian Cage, and two guys who look amazing, can wrestle well, cut killer promos. And what did Dave Marquez do? He put Percy Pringle with them. You know, WWE's Paul Bearer, for you guys who don't know who Percy Pringle is. And at the time I thought and I even told Dave this, what are you doing, man? Both those guys can cut promos. Why? What is Percy here for? And Dave said it's to help them grow. And sure enough, man, Sean Rickard, Eli Drake grew leaps and bounds. And when he said that he lost jobs for opening up his mouth, I mean, the guy was an NXT. The guy was an Impact. And he's certainly not going to censor himself for anybody. Now, I know this show, whatever his podcast is going to do, I'm not 100% sure, but it's going to be authentically Eli Drake. And you know that for certain. I also know he's a huge fan of Tom Likas, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of Likasisms. If anyone knows Tom Likas, I don't know if that's just a SoCal thing. I think he was nationally syndicated, but he's definitely going to have his point of view. It's definitely going to be abrasive. But at the end of the day, if you like Eli Drake, you're going to like the videos. If you don't like Eli Drake, you're not going to like these videos.
And I think the beauty of this too is like, you know, to your point, Rob, about different strokes for different folks. I mean, it looks like all of this stuff, unless I read it wrong, is going to be spaced out on different nights. So, you know, it sounds like you're going to get to pick and choose. And, you know, if there's some things that float your boat and some things that don't, you skip that night. You're not going to have to, you know, sift through it in one episode like tonight. I feel like tonight was kind of the intro of like, here's all the content we're going to be putting out, just to introduce everyone to it.
For sure.
Moving on from Eli Drake, the next segment up was Tim Storm, CARNYLAND history lesson. I mentioned this a little early on in the podcast, but this one, guys, this was the point. I guess I should say too, like literally in my notes, I wrote here, CARNYLAND is everything for everyone. Like, I think what I was thinking at the time was we all had these theories of what CARNYLAND was going to be. And it started to feel like, wow, they're just like trying to hit every freaking base. Like they're just like nailing them all. Like everything you think of. Is it an interview show? Is it telling old wrestling stories? Is it like goofy Saturday Night Live skits? Is it
to be fair? To be fair, Lagana tried to tell us, like he said, everyone's from CARNYLAND. And so I covered a lot of the theories and speculations on the Daily Show, and literally all of them were correct.
Yeah, that's a good point. So this one is a literal, I mean, what are you going to get Tim Storm to do? How about one of the things that people love him for is he's a teacher. Let him teach you something. And we get a Tim Storm history lesson. And my wife immediately was like, if you're going to write down a hashtag Jennifer's note, let it be known that this is my favorite segment. Like, I love Tim Storm and I love this segment. Like, she was all on board for Tim Storm, telling this story about Ben Franklin, letting you know everything you thought you knew and everything you might not have known about Ben Franklin. I didn't know anything about the glass harmonica. I didn't know that. I didn't know he invented flippers for his hands and his feet for swimming. But he also wrote books called Fart Proudly and The Drinker's Dictionary, which I'm interested in. How to Pick a Mistress, which I have no interest in.
There you go.
And he apparently had 15 illegitimate kids.
That's
He'd
too
like
many.
to hang out nude and do some people watching. And they found like a ton of bodies in his basement, just all of this stuff. He's one of the founding fathers of not only the United States of America, but according to Tim Storm, one of the founding fathers of CARNYLAND. What did you guys think of the Tim Storm history lesson?
I'm just embarrassed at how I still laugh very hard anytime I hear the word fart in any context. And I loved the segue. It's like, you may know that he wrote the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, but he also wrote "fart proudly," and I just lost. I don't think I heard anything for the next like 25 seconds because I was laughing so hard I couldn't hear. So,
Well, I'm going to be the jerk here. No, but I liked this segment a lot. Again, I mean, being a founding father of CARNYLAND, and here now that myself and Gary and here in a minute, Will are all councilmen of CARNYLAND. Does that mean that we have to hang out in the nude and in the breeze and all that and talk with drinks and stuff like that? But,
Yep.
I feel like part of the problem with this podcast and our relationship in general, Rob, is that you like come into this thing and I feel like we're pretty open about everything we expect, and then you always do this like shifty like sidestepping thing, like, oh, I don't know if I'm into that. You're either all in or
okay,
buddy. Nude people watching was in the contract.
The other thing is like the my training is in the liberal arts and in social studies and history. So I was sitting there like I was like fact checking. So he was like, Ben Franklin wrote the Declaration. I was like, no, he didn't. Tom Jefferson did. He wrote the Constitution. No, he didn't. James Madison did. And then, but I'll be that as it may. I mean, I love this segment, man. I love Tim Storm, the teacher. I think he probably connects with kids like crazy. I love all the little tidbits that he threw in there, things that I'd never heard of before. I love the whole fart proudly thing. The founding father of CARNYLAND. Of course, Ben Franklin is the founding father of CARNYLAND. Of course he is. Loved it. Loved this segment. Love Tim Storm.
Sounds like you got beef with him.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Nick Aldis guy, so of course, but yeah, I love Tim Storm, man. He's one of the great most, to me, like when you look at the NWA, the most essential guys, you've got 4 or 5 essential pieces. I think Josephus is one of them. I think Tim Storm is one of them. And of course, Nick Aldis. And now you see like Thunder Rosa and Allison, I mean, there's so many, they all have their role, but you look at, for me, Tim Storm is essential to the story. I can't imagine the National Wrestling Alliance without Tim Storm being in it. And I, just being an educator, I have a great deal of admiration and affection for him, even if I'm an Aldis guy.
Lavi's in the chat talking about she thinks Tim Storm seems like such a great teacher, and Andrew McKinney calls him Nature Boy Ben Franklin.
Woo!
And, yeah, and then Ben Franklin is the definition of an OG from Front Row. And Fortson said that Stinson's doing a lot of moving side to side, like a snake, like slithering, if you will. So, Andrew McKinney does say, come on, Doc. He was on the Declaration Committee and a member of the Constitutional Convention. He helped. So now,
no doubt.
Thanks to you, this has turned into some BS.
And that's what I'm saying, man. This is just like me, like, when people are, and I imagine Andrew's a history guy and Fortson's also an educator, we just naturally like go into fact check mode. So while he's going through, so I'm like, wait, is that true? Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, there's nothing. I had no problem with the segment. I thought it was money.
Chris just found out you were a teacher. Chris Johnson, who's actually been a supporter of the show for a long time. He's a good dude, and you'll meet him at the power tapings. But
Awesome.
He's also an educator.
Shout out, Chris.
Yeah, so
shout out, brother.
For some reason, NWA be bringing out the teachers. I don't know what's up with that, but here we are.
It's that Tim Storm effect.
Well,
yeah, it is. But my thing is that I looked at this segment that Tim Storm was probably just like chilling at his house with his family, and Lagana just sent him the script. It was like, Tim, do this lesson. And Tim's like, all right, yeah, how do I set up my camera? And then they did it, and I don't hold him accountable. I hold Lagana accountable for any factual errors. J-Cal, let's get your take on Tim Storm's history lesson.
First and foremost, what Robert says is that Tim was essential, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, again, going through the historical phase of the NWA, he could have done so many things wrong, and I felt like he did everything right. And I don't know if that was coaching from Lagana and Corgan, but when he came to this new opportunity, a lot of people were trying to convince him to do things that would have hurt the brand. He always held that title with integrity and respect, and for that, I have the utmost respect for him. And I know the NWA has the utmost respect for Tim Storm. And I've heard Lagana say he's got a job for life. As long as he's willing to play ball with us, we'll have him around, which I think is great because he's a world champion, for crying out loud. And that the ties to the past, I think, are so important for the NWA. Legacy means everything. And the fact that they didn't have to have a tournament to crown a new champion or strip Tim Storm and award the title to somebody else. Like they literally, the continuity didn't end. And I as a fan of the NWA, that was paramount for me. In terms of the educators coming to the NWA, of course, because it's a more sophisticated brand of pro wrestling. Yep. Even when it can be silly, it's still more sophisticated. And to the point of Tim Storm, number one, I love the fact that he had a Mama Storm shirt hanging up behind him in the video. And number two, again, they are in this, what can we do with this guy right now? What can we do with anybody? So the history lesson, it was fun. I consider myself a history guy. I just let it roll off my back. I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Let's do this. Tim Storm is Tim Storm.
Well, J-Cal, not to cut you off too quick, but I have been corrected in the chat by Dave Lagana that Tim Storm did write that whole thing. So just continue, but
which adds stock even more to Mr. Storm because he's also now he's a producer for the NWA. So again, I thought it was a great segment. Not my favorite of the night, but certainly I thought it was one of the top ones. And I felt like it did bring some comedic value to it, and it was just fun. Tim Storm being fun. I could always get behind that.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. I think it just brought us back to every day. Like if you think Tim Storm's going to slip out of your memory or that like, what's he going to do? Like Tim Storm, every time he is on that camera makes you love him again. Like he just always makes you fall in love with him. It's an impressive feat.
How good was that match? I'm sorry. I know you guys talked about it last week, but how good was that match with him and Jack Stain? Holy cow.
So good.
Gee.
Hey, Lagana, I know you're in the chat room. Let's see part 2. I want another one. Let's do the Crockett Cup when that happens. Just throwing it out there.
Jack Stain gets a lot of love, man. I've had multiple people throughout doing this show that constantly asked me about Jack Stain. We had an interview set up at one point. The timing just hasn't worked out on it, but Jax has a lot of love from the NWA crowd. I see J-Cal's got some Jack Stain swag in the back.
No, not
his room. Not
here, unfortunately. At the work office, I do. But I will say this about Jack Stain: as good of a wrestler he is, and as an amazing performer as he is, he's a better human being. Let that sink in.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, like Jack Stain communicates with me. Like, I don't know why. I'm nobody to communicate with, but he, like, when I talk to him, he's responded to me. And this is a world's champion, man, a legitimate world's champion. And I love that match with him and Tim Storm. I mean, we were just right there. Gary, you were there that night. Jack Stain sweated on me. They got so close. It was amazing. One of the freaking most awesome matches. It was great stuff.
Those guys did everything that you wanted out of those two. I think I said it at the time last week that, you weren't expecting, some 5-star flippy match. You were expecting two hosses to just beat the hell out of each other. That's exactly what they did. I mean, they delivered 100%. Guys, if you're in the chat right now and you haven't hit like, by the way, go ahead and hit like. And if you haven't hit subscribe, by God, just hit subscribe, subscribe to the channel. This is good conversation. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but toot. Here we are. We're having some great conversation. We've got J-Cal in the chat. from the Alliance blog. And we're halfway through CARNYLAND, which, by the way, was a 30-minute show. And somehow we're still here talking about it. Every episode we do of this, I tell these guys, I'm like, we're not going to talk for 2 hours. We're not this time. This episode is going to be a quick hour. That's what we're going to do. Well, that's not happening again, but screw it. Here we are. So anyway, subscribe. Let us know what you like. Hit us in the comments with your favorite parts of the show. And of course, as always, let the NWA and David Legata, Billy Corgan, all of those folks know how much you appreciate them, because that's why we're all here, because we appreciate those guys. Next up on the list, moving past Tim Storm, is David Marquez shows up, and he's got the Cardi translator. So this was, if I wasn't personally attacked before then, it was definitely during this, because there was multiple occasions where the Cardi translator helped out. And one of those was the people in the crowd who were never going to buy another ticket that just wanted to get you to produce like a whole podcast around everything you're doing. And I was like, all right, you son of a gun. I see you. I feel you, Legata. I know what you're doing. You and Marquez. Guys, David Marquez makes an appearance with the Cardi translator. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, man, I thought the same thing, bro. I was sitting there and I was like, oh, that's a dig on Gary Horn and Adam Rotella, man. That's exactly what that is.
Except I signed up on the Patreon. So, GFY is those are the initials that you won't have to bleep for Piper's notes, but GFY. I'm a patron.
Go ahead,
Will.
I thought it was great. I mean, Marquez, it's similar to Eli Drake. What I said earlier, when he talks, I'm just captivated because he's just got that classic, wrestling announcer voice, and I loved it. I didn't feel as personally attacked apparently as you did, Gary. I laughed at it. I'm sorry.
Well, you're but a baby in this game, so.
Well,
David Legata is in the chat right now. It says next week, how to be a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, go ahead, Jake Al.
So you guys, I've known Dave Marquez for longer than the 13 years I've been doing this Alliance blog and all that stuff. And I've always found him to be so compelling, whether it be his facial expressions or just the words that are literally coming out of his mouth. Sometimes you just scratch your head and say, is this guy real? And he is. I mean, that's how he talks in real life. And I've known, like I said, I've known Dave for such a long time, and you feel attacked, Gary. I mean, I've been going to this guy's shows for the last 16 years, maybe even longer. And that's Dave. And I love this segment. It's funny because initially when he signed up to do this show, when he was on board with NWA Power, he wasn't supposed to be in front of the camera. He wasn't supposed to be holding a microphone or introducing anybody. He was supposed to be directing the show behind the scenes. And Billy and Dave approached him as an on-screen talent. And I mean, I think he's doing not only a great job on the show, but this little bit right here made me laugh. It was funny. I've been to that Ocean View Pavilion where they shoot Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. When he says the 7 people in the audience and, hey, we'll bring back our friends, and they never come again but do a podcast, that was very true and very real, especially with that crowd. So I got a kick out of it, even if it might have been triggered at me or Gary or any one of us. I thought it was great. I thought it was good.
I agree. You need to reset that camera, buddy. I don't know if anybody can see this. I can see the boom. He's gone. He's back. I love that camera thing.
Sorry.
No. I'm 100% with you, man. And David Marquez, it's funny. Like now, I can't picture the show without David Marquez. Like he is brilliant. And the things you're talking about, the last power tapings were the first time I actually had a good chance to talk with him one-on-one. And I'll make a confession right now. He's a guy who I've seen in other Q&As where people have asked him, are you going to go on the This Is the NWA podcast? And he constantly is like, I know that this is the NWA podcast, and they never asked me to do anything. And it's 100% true. And it's because he always intimidates me. And I don't know what it is about David Marquez, but he's very intimidating to me. Just the breadth of like wisdom that this guy has, like it just feels like where do I start with David Marquez? Like he's just a lot. Like he's a super smart guy. The last time at the power tapings that I was going to say is I was hanging out in the lobby and talked to him and Trevor Murdoch for forever. The both of them standing there, and the whole time I was just like in awe just of those two guys. And I've had Trevor on the show, but for some reason, just the two of them together, like talking, and they were very inclusive. So there's literally this fear of mine has no backing. Like there's no reason I have it because they were super inclusive. They were telling stories about Harley Race, like I hung out with Harley Race at some point, and it was really incredible. But anyway. So David Marquez should be a guest on the show at some point. Go ahead.
Can I say one more nice thing about Mr. David Marquez? I knew David Marquez was going to be at the matchup between Nick Aldis and Harley Race's son, Leland. And I knew that Dave was good friends with Harley Race, and I knew I'd never get a chance to meet Harley Race. And so I asked Dave, hey, could you take my 10 pounds of replica to get autographed, because I do have quite a few signatures on there. And sure enough, he did. And that's Harley Race's signature right there. And that meant the world to me. Like I said, Dave and I have a good relationship. I've always thought the world of Dave. He's always done right by me, but he went way out of his way to do something kind that he did not have to do. And for that, I'm eternally grateful, because shortly after that, we all know that Harley passed. And so it meant a lot to me.
No, as it should. I mean, that's a thing that a lot of us will never have the opportunity to get. And I mean, you've got it right there on your belt. That's pretty freaking impressive. And again, to say that like David Marquez, like it's unfounded, the intimidation I feel. The guy has never been anything less than welcoming. And he is the guy, by the way, for those of you who haven't been to an NWA power taping, I mean, he's the guy that's front and center like most of the time. Like, I mean, he's out there and he's shooting the breeze with the crowd. He's hanging out. He's making jokes. People yell at him to tell a story, and he'll tell a story about Gordon Soley or Harley Race or whoever else. Like David Marquez, I don't know what it is with him that I'm just like, I don't know what to talk to him about, because there's so much. It's just that he's too good. Like he's just that good of a dude. So it was cool to see a little more out of him. Go ahead. Sorry, Rob.
It's like, it's like the NWA fam, the way we interact, with each other. Like J. Cal had this great podcast. I think it was last week. The Rising Tides Raise All Ships. This elevating and supporting each other, and I feel like that's one thing I love about the NWA talent, man, is how accessible they are. And I'm coming from the perspective of our projects, and but it's like when I reached out to Nick Aldis and I reach out to these guys, none of them have been dismissive. We've had people that have been very, very willing to come on and spend time with us, and so the NWA fam really takes its cue from them, and that's awesome. That's a great story, man, about Marquez and getting that signature for you, man. I love that.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love that story too. It's one of the benefits of having a cool special guest like J. Cal today. Just hearing cool stories to back up how awesome we think everybody in the NWA is. Let's move on to the next segment, which is gonna create some division, I imagine. Josephus returns, and he in these uncertain times with Josephus. Long story short, for $19.99, you can go ahead and pre-order How to Be a Champion by NWA champion Josephus. The pages are blank right now because that part hasn't happened yet, but you can go ahead and pre-order the book, and it will get filled in later as he's won the championship and whatever that leads to. So feelings on the Josephus segment here. It's good to see him back personally for me. That's how I felt.
I laughed really hard. I mean, especially the blank, when he got to the blank pages part, I thought that was brilliant. And for the record, I hope those pages don't stay blank forever. Cause I talk about it in some of my other videos, but like Josephus took a while to grow on me, but when he did, like he really grew on me, and he's become like one of my favorite guys on the team. So yeah.
I agree, man. Josephus gosh, man, we love Josephus. We were at one point we were Presbyterian, then we converted to Kingdomites, and one of my goals is to like transcribe all of his teachings from all the 10 pounds of gold broadcast into the teachings of Josephus, and to put that out there and do like a daily motivational or daily devotional based off of the Kingdom of Josephus teachings. But I
am always on the and you're talking to a bunch of people that love some marketing. So Rob, you just pitched an idea that I'm on board for.
No, I'm on that, dude. I've already started. I called it first. but like,
there you go.
So I was talking to somebody earlier on Facebook, just messaging, and they're like, man, this is like a weird look for Josephus. No, go to his YouTube channel. You'll get all this. This is nothing new. This is, if you're a Kingdomite, all this makes sense. And Josephus is so like, everything he does, again, I've used the word deliberate because I think everything that like Billy and Lagana do is so deliberate and well thought out. And Josephus is right up there with them, man. And everything here is so well crafted. This was my absolute favorite segment. I'm teachable on this. I could be wrong, but I love like everything Josephus says when he talks. Like I feel like I'm about to get like a parable, like from the Sermon on the Mount or something. I mean, he is just so compelling, and I want to buy that book. I'm going to get on the list for when he gets it because I want to know how to be a champion, even though he's not a champion yet. So this was my favorite segment of the whole show. I loved it. Absolutely. 120, 30, 40, 50%.
I think to throw in on something you're saying there, Rob, just real quick, is one of the disappointing parts of, the people that we love all of our hashtag NWA fam. We're glad everybody's here, and I hope you hit subscribe. Anyway, all of you people that are here that just started with Power, you're missing out if you haven't gone back on the old 10 Pounds of Gold series. Not only will you get such gems as J-Cal appearing in one of the episodes, you'll also get to know folks like Josephus, who, if you've only seen NWA Power, has not quite been the presence that we all know him as. And so that's a little disappointing to some. And so anyway, I just thought that was worth mentioning. You miss out on things like the Josephus and some great Tim Storm content and that kind of thing. But anyway, J-Cal, you were ready to say something. I'm sorry.
So the thing about Josephus is, what we get today is different than what he was just a few years ago. In the old NWA, I mean, he did hold championship gold, but, he's never been around the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, he did make challenges for that title lots and lots of times. But the thing that I enjoy most about Josephus is he's kind of going through a metamorphosis, if you will. Like he went from, the Enlightened One, and he had, like you said, the Kingdom Knights, or as Adam Rotella would call it, the 3%, right? They were going around for such a long time in that direction, and then it changed, and it's like, okay, he had to hit rock bottom, and now, now he's got that PMA going on, which I'm all about, that positive mental attitude. He's going to fill that book on how to be a champion because, damn it, he's going to be a champion. But when that comes, I don't know. But I enjoyed the segment. Again, I know that Josephus isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I think, like Tim Storm, so much of what he did early on for the 10 Pounds of Gold, and the fact that he's kind of been one of those transitional names from the past into the present, I think that adds a lot of value to the brand. And again, I say what you will about the guy, the integrity is there. He's treated the NWA with dignity and class. I hope to continue to see him. I know he gets out there. I know he's kind of weird. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but I hope he's around for a long time to come. And maybe I don't ever need to see him wear the 10 pounds of gold, but I wouldn't have a problem with him holding that, that national title or that television title.
I think our chat room is broken because I'm just seeing stuff in here about the question mark, and Gary is the question mark, which is not true at all. It's really disturbing every time somebody mentions that. And they say that the WWE front row says fake news. I've seen them in the same place. He'll deny it till the end of the time it's true. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff about question mark. Maybe deep down inside, we're all question mark, says Wrestling with the MMA. I don't know what you guys are talking about with the question mark. I don't even see how this relates to anything. So I don't know if our show is just really off. Like, why are you guys talking about question mark?
We haven't gotten there. We haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, the question mark segment's coming up. But
question mark's beard, by the way, is a distinctively Mongrovian umber. It's a distinct color, so don't even try to tell me.
Sometimes I don't. Weird. Sometimes I don't know what Rob's talking about. Am I the only one?
His beard, man. People say Josephus's beard and question mark's beard are distinct colors, man. Mongrovian umber. There's only been like 5 people ever identified with that color, and Gary, you're one of them. You might be the question mark.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm seeing in the chat room, but I don't know. Rob somehow manages to walk the line, Will, of being both the best thing that the world could hope for in our children and also the worst thing. I don't know. A weird balancing act he plays. So it's interesting. It's interesting to watch him.
There's a big beard debate going on in the chat right now about which of us has the most question markish beard.
Oh, interesting.
Before quarantine,
yours, like fitting under the quarantine mask. Like
holy cow! J Cal is the question mark. It just dawned on me.
J Cal.
I mean, being subtle this whole time. You dirty dog, man.
I mean, I stand at a huge 5'8", so I don't think I have the height requirement to be that question mark. But pre-quarantine beard, man, I was right on point with the question mark.
So after the question mark, or no, sorry, Josephus. You jerks in the chat. After the Josephus segment. Which, by the way, I would be happy to pre-order this book. And so I'm not sure what Lagana was thinking, if he intended on it, but I'm going to be hitting Maureen up about that being an actual piece of merch that we can purchase.
It should be.
I mean, if nothing else, I'll journal in the book. Like it'll be great. What's causing all this on Monday mornings? This is another jab at us out here in CARNYLAND, I guess. Thanks, Lagana. Nick Aldis talking about he's going to be bringing on Crimson and Tom Latimer. This is the thing we've heard him tease a little bit, but apparently that's going to be part of a regular show that Nick Aldis is going to do. He says it's going to drop on Monday mornings, and he can't tell you everything it's going to be. He's new to this, but this first week, it's going to be him talking with Crimson and his best friend, Tom Latimer, about old gimmicks, the things they've done. This sounds like content that J Cal was looking for, and I'm sure a lot of us were. But he said he can tell you what it's not going to be, and it's not going to be, hey, you walked into TNA at one point and you did a thing. Tell us about that. He said what it will be is authenticity. So again, I say yet another jab at podcasting, it sounds like. But what do you guys say?
I don't think it was that. What you're the most authentic interviewer out there, Gary, that I've heard. So
that's beautiful. Thank you so much.
And I'm not just saying that because you're paying me a lot to be on here. I'm saying that because I mean it.
We get paid to be on here?
Wait, I'm paying you guys to be on here. What's going on?
What the?
That goes straight to me.
Yeah. I just tossed my funds from the Alliance blog down to Will to also show up to make me look good and which he's trying to do. If you guys would shut up for a second.
No, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Again, this was one of the things I talked about in my show that, potential spoiler, and it was, along with a lot of other things. So looking forward to that. I'm really intrigued by Crimson because I haven't, I saw some of him in 10 Pounds of Gold, but I haven't seen, I know he's been out with injury, so he hasn't really been a part of NWA Power or anything like that. So I'm particularly interested in that part of it because I want to get to know him a little better because I think he's a pretty intriguing guy.
I love this segment with one small exception, which we alluded to earlier, and I won't bring that up again. But I like what he said, where he was like, "I'm going to be strict bare here. I don't mind talking about Brutus Magnus." He's like, "We're gonna shoot straight, cut straight to the bone here. We're not pulling any punches. I'm going to be, again, authenticity has been a word that we brought up time and time again, and." When we talk about what's causing all this, we're going to see his metamorphosis from what he says, not my words, because I've always been, I like Magnus, I like Aldous, but from his own words, from punchline to headline. So I love this, man. I'm so excited about this, probably more than anything else in the upcoming weeks.
I think this show has the potential to be the best show out of the entire lineup that they're going to be doing Monday through Friday. I really feel like Nick Aldis has so much story to tell, so much he's seen a lot in a short amount of time. He's a young guy. He's not out there pushing 40, pushing 50. He's still in his prime. And the fact that he's gone through so much in such a short amount of time, guys, he beat Sting to win the Impact Championship. Let that sink in for a minute. He had times where things could have been bad for him. And
Sting was showing up in your bedroom right then.
He was. If you say Sting's name 3 times in the dark, he will appear. So we're trying it out. But ultimately, what I would like to say is that. Yes, I felt personally attacked by him reading Wikipedia because I've only done that twice. And secondly, I think that ultimately, I really do think that if this is as authentic as he says it's going to be, this is going to be like some prime content. And Crimson is a guy that's been around for a long time too. Tom Latimer has some stories. These guys, they have stories, and I think this will be great. If they're allowed to be, who they are, if they're given that opportunity to, again, be authentic, this will be the best show on the NWA network.
I think one of the interesting parts here is like directly after this segment, we get into a segment that announces that I think it was Galley announcing that they're going to be having a segment called Inside the NWA that drops tomorrow. And he's going to be interviewing David Lagana and Billy Corgan. And this at this point, I was like, what are these guys doing? Like, there's like, it sounds like there's something like every day. Like it's pretty entertaining. Like it was like wow, we went from having no content to, all right, well, this is the NWA weekly shows are going to start getting rowdy because there's going to be a lot of stuff to cover.
No, man, daily content, man. Who would have thought of that?
Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy. But here we are. It's inside the NWA. By the way, God bless Lagana. Drop it into the chat, but I did shoot him the Zoom chat info. I was like, you blessed us with your presence last time. If you want to hear us praise CARNYLAND tonight, feel free to drop in. And he's like, actually can't do it tonight. Have to save my heat for tomorrow. So I'm interested to know what that means. And so we'll definitely be tuning in to find out what Inside the NWA is going to involve tomorrow.
Can I throw my 2 cents in real quick on this one?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm going to be 100% honest. I feel a little threatened, man. It's like, wait, that's our job, is to create content on a daily basis. Now you guys are doing it. Are we in direct competition with the NWA now? Because, geez, man. I mean, I only asked for 2 days out of the week. It really only one. I know Gary. I mean, you guys are doing all this great content. It's like, oh, geez, man. It's how do we keep up? How do we how do we stay fresh when they're, Joe Galley's going to interview Billy Corgan. How many of us have been blessed enough to interview Billy Corgan? I'm not complaining, because as a consumer, this is great. But as, in some regards, a competitor, because we're all trying to make fresh and original content, man, it makes the game that much more difficult, which means we have to all step our game up to still provide quality content.
Yeah, I suppose you could look at it that way, Jake Hal, but I don't see it that way personally for myself. We're doing this because of our love of wrestling and because of our love of the National Wrestling Alliance. And these guys, our job is just to supplement everything that the National Wrestling Alliance does. For me, I'm trying to view it as they're giving us more to work with. So this is just, any times you've been like, what am I going to talk about? How long can I go? Like what's going to happen now? And I'm sure you've experienced that in your, especially early on in your blog. Right now I'm looking at this as like, all right, no excuses. There's stuff every single day. So there's plenty to talk about.
And from my perspective too, and I think we've talked about this before, but for us, and the unique thing about what we do for we are fans creating content. The one thing that the NWA cannot do is put out fan perspectives on their own content, which is what we do. So, and they know, and they don't want to replace us. So to Gary's point, I mean, they're given, I do a 5-minute daily show. Now I've got something to talk about every day besides who did WWE fire today. So I'm really happy about it.
I'm just going to quote a great man who once said, I think a week ago, rising tides raised all ships. So I think it's great, man.
Well, guys, in all honesty,
somebody got called to the carpet.
Well, no, in all honesty, it was more tongue in cheek than anything else, because I remember hearing that Will has never seen a Star Wars movie, which blasts my mind. But
my God, I thought we were going to get through this. I thought we were going to get through this without a Star Wars.
I was a kid.
We have to talk about that, because I did my 5 posts today. So
I didn't see them.
I got them. Go back and check. No, not right now. Hold on. Let me double check.
You double check. As a kid growing up, I loved Star Wars, right? We had 3 movies and that was it. Okay, we got some video games, which was cool, and we had lots of toys, and that was cool, but there was never enough. And then we got books, and we're like, okay, cool, we got books, we can read, awesome. But it was never the same as having those movies. And we live in a world today where people are complaining about the movies, and if you like them, God bless you. If you hate them, God bless you. I love it because I'm getting that content that I desired as a child. And the NWA listened to us. I mean, we were saying, hey, man, we love NWA Power, but can we get some more? Can we get more NWA? And they certainly delivered, or will be delivering. I mean, CARNYLAND is just one of 5 new offerings that the NWA will be introducing week after week. So there's definitely going to be that point in time where there's content. I've been doing this for 13 years, and about 6 months before Billy Corgan bought the NWA, I was ready to hang it up. I was ready to quit because there was nothing going on. Tim Storm is going to Japan. Cool. Is he going to New Japan? No, he's going to some indie in Japan. Well, is it a big indie? No, it was nothing. It's cool for Tim Storm to be there. It was cool for the title to be traveling internationally, but didn't have the same cachet as Rob Conway defending in New Japan. So it's tongue in cheek, guys. I really am looking forward to more NWA content, especially as it is looking like it's going to be built out. But it's certainly, I feel like there will be some pressure on all content creators to step their game up a little bit, because again, we are ancillary to the NWA brand. We all want to contribute to the growth and the promotion of the National Wrestling Alliance. And that means that we just have to do our jobs that much better, because they're going to be on 5 days a week now.
Right. That's a 100% true. And Will, were you trying to say something?
No, I think Rob was saying something.
Oh, sorry, it was Rob.
No. Go ahead. No, I don't want to.
Well, it was. No, you're fine, man. I was just going to jump into the next segment and talk about that.
Let me take this.
So
this is
right.
one that's near and dear to my heart, brother.
All right, Rob.
So we, in our next segment, we went into Mongrovian Unmasked, and now, Jake, you said this felt a little flat for you, and I don't know. I do know, because you being who you are, this is not new to us in the fan community. This is the first piece of content that they put out tonight that we have already been exposed to. Like, we're already 3 episodes deep into Mongrovian Unmasked, and because a lot of it has to do with my kids and the fact that they completely bought into this, but I got to get your response, man. So you said this fell flat with you, J. Cal. What is it about this that you don't feel? I'm curious.
So first and foremost, let me say that I am a big Aaron Stevens guy. When they brought him in, I knew exactly what was going to happen. The angle played out exactly how I thought it would. You've got this guy who is a world-class competitor. He's been to WWE. He's held gold in the WWE. He was in Impact for a minute. I don't think he really realized his full potential in Impact, but I knew that, they're going to use him, and the way they used him, really going back to Ricky Starks, built up Ricky Starks as a bigger name because he was beating Aaron Stevens. And now that he is the Mongrovian third-degree national champion of the world, television time remaining with 3 degrees on that belt, I really genuinely feel that he is an excellent champion for the NWA and an excellent person to represent the National Wrestling Alliance. Some of the stuff could be tongue-in-cheek. Some of it could be slapsticky. And I kind of get lost in it. I know Question Mark is over huge. I know fans love it. I was there the first night he debuted. I popped just like everyone else did for the guy. But that kind of weighed on me after a while. I still love watching Aaron Stevens, and especially when they attacked Trevor Murdoch, that the violence that he showed, that intensity that he showed, I can't wait to see more of that from Aaron Stevens. This is more shticky, and it's not my cup of tea. And again, I know that I'm in the minority here. I know that, Question Mark is king, and everyone loves that gimmick and loves this pairing. And I do love the pairing. It's just, I want to see more of that violent side of Aaron Stevens and less of the silly side. Now,
right.
Again,
now when I dig into like the better angels of my own nature, I feel the same way. One of the things that the NWA really draws me into is the prize fight. But then I look at, again, going back to the 80s, when you felt like not every single segment in a show is going to have like world title implications, but every single segment was important. And I feel like the Question Mark has kind of maneuvered itself into this like real, true, legitimate relevance to where they have a cult following. Everything that the Question Mark and Aaron Stevens does, man, they've got a rabid fan base where people are devoted and they're committed and they're like, wanting to know about signing up for the karate classes and this and that. So, I guess the thought, and you're a dad too. You've got Piper and Claire, beautiful kids. At some point, J. Cal, they are going to fall in love with the Question Mark and Shooter Stevens, and then you are going to.
Yeah, and look, like we said, like there's a different perspective for everything. My oldest daughter, Lily, we used to go to all the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood shows. So if she had a particular favorite wrestler, so did Dad. If she found someone appealing, so did I. One of her favorite wrestlers doesn't wrestle for Hollywood anymore, but her name is Ruby Reyes, and she is the I'll censor her name, but she considers herself the equal opportunity butt kicker. She's wrestled intergender matches, and she's really good in the ring. She has natural charisma. My daughter fell in love with her, and since that day, it's like, okay, well, now I'm pulling for Reyes too. She doesn't appear in Hollywood anymore, but she's somebody who my daughter had a connection with. So immediately I started rooting for her as well. And I get that when your kids have someone that they like a lot, I end up, as a father, you try to jump on board with their likes too. She was a big fan of, if you guys are familiar with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, the Rock Ness Monsters.
Right.
And so I got on board. Oh wait, that's not the Rock Ness, but that is. Anyways,
Cool.
we got on board because she was on board. She liked Johnny Yuma and Johnny Goodtime, so I like Johnny Yuma and Johnny Goodtime, and then you kind of get attached to those because that's who your child is cheering for. So, I mean, I get the point. And if my kids were watching it, if they liked the question mark and Stevens, I'd be all on board. I don't blame you for that much. But like I said, it's just not my particular cup of tea. But if it was, if my kids were into it, I'd be into it.
Right. What about you, Will?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So Andrew McKinney in the chat, shout out to Andrew, brother. He says, I'm not a huge question mark fan, but it's a great illustration of what I love about the NWA. It's so reactive. The NWA listens to the fan base in a way that no other promotion does. And I think that's how I approach. And I know we had a conversation a while back. I think it was more about Colt Cabana and the kind of comedic side of wrestling that is more prevalent in the NWA than anywhere else. I think that, I think if it was happening in a vacuum, like, thankfully NWA is not doing empty arena shows, but if it was happening in an empty arena with no crowd, I probably wouldn't like it either. But I've always been a big fan of crowd pops and the wrestlers' reaction to that and the promotion's reaction to that. So the fact that, as Andrew says, that they're so in touch with their fan base that, this has become such a big thing. Like, I love that. So if I don't, and maybe it's just my empathy, I have really high empathy. So if I'm watching wrestling and the crowd pops, I'm like, oh, this is awesome, because they're saying it's awesome. So I appreciate it from that standpoint. But if it was happening, in a vacuum, I don't know if I'd feel the same. But I try to look at it that way.
Right. And responding to the chat, we got Chris Johnson out there. He's like, yes, I agree with that, Andrew. It just grew into something I didn't like when it bled into the realness that is Murdoch. But remember, it did not really do that. I mean, we're talking about a master of Mongrovian karate who was annihilated in the ring by Trevor Murdoch. So Murdoch's integrity.
Well, Rob, to be fair, to jump in there, I mean, I kind of see where Chris is coming from there. Like, when I was having my issues with question mark, one of my things is it was irritating to me because the very first time they did face off, question mark beat Murdoch. It was with some interference. Like, there was some questionable tactics, and I was like, dang, man, Trevor Murdoch is real. He's as real as it gets, and then he should kill this guy. And but I was very happy that yes, a lot of the next couple of times they've interacted, especially in the TV title tournament, Trevor Murdoch did come out victorious over the question mark, and he did, you bought in. I don't know. It's like you got to invest yourself into the realness that is Trevor. It's weird. I think one thing that if I could jump in here with Aaron Stevens too, is that I don't know which ones of you were there for, if any, well, I guess maybe none of you were there for like the last tapings. Yeah, the one thing they did manage to do, I don't want to spoil anything for what these guys had planned. What's that?
I was at the last taping.
Were you there when they did the Sean Mooney stuff? Like, where the panel discussions?
Yeah. Well, we didn't stay for the panel because we had Petra, but we were there when they announced that.
They really, I mean, to give them credit where it's due, screw it, I'll just say this. I mean, they were doing this thing with Aaron Stevens that I really started to enjoy. Like, I was starting to get with him. I don't know where they're going to go because of what's happened, but they were kind of leading into that at Crockett Cup. We were going to see a Trevor Murdoch and Aaron Stevens feud, like those two going at it. And Trevor Murdoch was very much approaching the feud of you're a joke. Like, this is stupid. You're holding that title and you don't deserve to have that title. And that title's supposed to mean something. And the fact that you have it makes it mean nothing. And I want to bring that back. And it had that kind of value to it, where Aaron Stevens it started to seem like kind of got into this mode of like, no, you just don't get me. I do what I have to do to survive. I do what I have to do to be a success. And I am a success. I'm the guy that's got this title. And for the first time, like it was clicking with me. I was like, holy crap. Like that means something. Like that's kind of cool. Like that's kind of a neat approach to a guy like Aaron Stevens, where he's like, yeah, you're looking at me like I'm a goofball, but I'm the one who won this title. Like I'm the one sitting here with it. So who's the joke, you know?
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting. I don't know.
I personally like the contrast of stuff like that. And I don't have all the context. I obviously wasn't there. But you know, I like, and I mean, you know, Ricky Starks was even talking about this on his interview on Busted Open. It's just sometimes the real contrast in gimmicks and personalities really it can either fall flat or it can create a really, really interesting story. And I think, you know, Aaron Stevens has a really interesting story, in my opinion. I'm intrigued. And so I would love to see him and Trevor Murdoch go into something like that, where there is a little bit of realness to it, obviously coming from Murdoch, where, you know, it kind of forces Aaron not out of his gimmick, but kind of makes him be a little more real, and maybe makes Trevor Murdoch get a little more silly. You know, they kind of create some cool chemistry together.
I 100% agree with that. Fellas, we've got a little bit further to go in the recap. Hope everybody's hit subscribe. I like to throw that in there every once in a while, but we have to say goodbye to J Cal. J Cal's got to bail on us. You know, he was just a special pop-in guest who gave us, he was very generous with his time. He hung out with us and talked a lot about this show. J Cal, thank you so much for doing this. And it was nice to finally get that crossover with This Is the NWA and the Alliance blog. Tell everybody anything else you want to say and where they can find you, just to make sure we get that out there.
Well, first of all, I hope this is the first of many crossovers, because again, this NWA fam that started in Nashville 2.5 years ago, I think is really onto something. And I think this current climate of synergy between NWA content creators is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I hope we all can continue to do this, because I think this is not only good for the fans, and I think it helps the NWA, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, gotta admit that. You guys, if you enjoy my takes, you can find me pretty much everywhere on social media at the Alliance blog. I do a Tuesday live stream on YouTube at the Alliance blog, ahead of whatever the NWA puts on Tuesdays at that 6:05 time slot. We jump on at 5:05, 2:05 Pacific, and we just hashtag talk NWA with the hashtag NWA fam. You can also visit www.alliance-wrestling.com. I'm going to say it's the #1 source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance in print, because obviously these guys are kicking their butts creating content that is accurate and fast and entertaining. And I'm very proud of each one of them. And yeah, man, I also do podcasts that it's basically just the audio from the YouTube shows. And I put that up on anchor.fm, the Alliance blog. And that streams out through Spotify. So if you guys prefer to listen to your content, just look for the Alliance blog on your Spotify, and hopefully you'll find me. And again, Gary, thanks for this, man. I had a lot of fun. I've admired you from afar for a long time. I'm glad we don't have to be far anymore. And it was fun talking to Will and Robert. This is the first time we've actually spoken on camera, but I hope we do it more and more in the future, and collaborate more and more, because again, this is a one big happy family, and I'm proud to be a part of it. So until next time, guys, I'll see you guys at the matches.
Thank you, J Cal.
Thank you. I think the chemistry was everything I hoped it could be. I think we did great, J Cal. Thank you so much for joining us, my friend.
Love you guys.
Fellas, we'll move on and we'll keep going. You obviously covered a lot of the Mongrovian Unmasked thing. I only made notes like I really hope to one day visit Left Eye Hole Lake and Questionable Bay. But other than that, I didn't have much to add to it. Stu Bennett Cortana comes out, blah, 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 and he introduces Entice Zicky Dice. So I am interested now that we've gotten a little deeper into this, and believe me, I see what you mean. Like, I feel like as the night goes further, my hat gets more and more crooked. And
Yeah, that's what it is. It's your hat. Yeah.
No, I'm interested to know what somebody like Robert Sisson thinks about a segment like Entice Zicky Dice, because this is the cool part about all the perspectives that we bring to the table. Entice Zicky Dice was funny to me. Like, I'm just sitting there in my chair, just like, oh, he's, I'm taking you out and it's elegant as hell. And, and we're doing this and we're at a 3-way fork in the road. And, and just like all of this stuff. And he's like, and the correct answer to the question is like, whatever path it was, it's like, no, we part right here and let everybody watch, and all this stuff. That was funny to me. But I'm not thinking of that at the same perspective that a lot of people are thinking of that. And I've seen it in the chat, by the way. It's not just David Lagana's in the chat saying, fix your hat, Whiskey Pete. No, I legitimately haven't even had any more whiskey. Like, I'll pour myself some more as we go further, but my hat did get crooked. Anyway, my point is that looking at this, like, Zicky Dice's segment was super funny to me. Like, I thought it was hilarious. And, but I saw in the chat that people were saying, like, there was a couple of comments that people were like, this was a little cringe for me. This was, whatever. That was too much. I'm not into Zicky. Zicky's just like the 80s Biff Tannen from Back to the Future. Like, Zicky's blah, 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 So I imagine there's a lot of perspectives out there. Obviously, you know where I stand. I'm curious to know where you guys are on this segment or Zicky Dice or just the whole thing in general.
Well, I'll go first. I'll let Rob get his thoughts together. So I'm a huge Zicky Dice fan, but I will be completely honest that I cringed slightly at a couple of them, and I had my kids in the room, but they weren't really paying attention. But I don't know. It did get kind of dangerously close to the too much innuendo for me. Just the little comments, and to be fair, like, it was very, very vague. Like, it wasn't like Attitude Era, like, let's do it on a bed in the middle of the ring, like back in those days. But it was definitely kind of getting close to that line for me. And for me, it's not really a moral thing. It's more of like, I don't watch wrestling for that. And so it's just it's one of those things that's like outside the realm of what I'm looking for when I watch wrestling. And I get that there's characters and that's part of the character. But yeah, I'm not afraid to admit that was one of the parts that just was a little bit flat for me.
In my house, it's much easier for me to tolerate like innuendo than a blatant like comment, like walking out of an S&M party or something being bleeped out, because a lot of that stuff is going to fly. And don't get me wrong, I think what the NWA does is very, on the whole, very family friendly and very digestible. On the whole, it is. So I don't have a lot of complaints. And if I thought that, hey, this is something that my daughter's not yet ready to digest or anything, but she is so enamored by like Zicky's over the top character. A lot of that stuff is just over her head. There's not a straight up like, what does he mean by S&M party, or why was that? There's none of those things come up. She's just like enraptured by him. And I am a huge Zicky Dice fan. I think he is funny. And the other thing is too, is I don't think that what you see is very far removed from his personality. We got to spend a lot of time with him doing a Piper's Notes episode. He was so gracious, one of the most gracious episodes or guests we've had. And that personality that he brings in that completely plays out, So, I wasn't so put off. I mean, for me, like I said, it's like the innuendo, and I completely hear you. And I feel like I'm like being, I'm going to say hypocritical, but I'm splitting a fine hair here. I want things to be appropriate. But, at the same time, there's a place for a slight bit of adult humor there that it's going to be harmless. And all in all, what Zicky said tonight was basically harmless. It was him being goofy and him being like completely non-self-aware of how like gross he was. And when I read the comments in the chat about being cringeworthy, I never felt like it was like his words that were cringe. I think it was like his like personality, his like doing the little breathing, like it was kind of sleazy a little bit, you know, like ooh, this guy's gross. So that's kind of what I took from it. But I love Zicky, man. This wasn't. I can't. I'm into Zicky Dice. I like it. And Fiona, man. What about Fiona? No one's talking about her, man. How was she for a foil for him, man?
Well, she gave all the wrong answers, so I don't know. Yeah, and
she was not doing great at his quiz show.
Yeah, I'll say, you know, again, like it's kind of hard to explain because, like I said, it's for me it has 0% to do with morality, because I mean, it's not a tolerance thing. It's more of just and this is another great example of just how the three of us bring three completely different professional wrestling fan perspectives. I have never gotten into relationship storylines, except maybe like the Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth, but like other, you know, I think they might have just been run into the ground during the Attitude Era and just the objectifying nature of them, and it just became something that like I didn't really care for in professional wrestling anymore. Again, like what I said earlier, though, it doesn't mean I can't appreciate that as like a character development tool. So I do appreciate that with Zicky. But you know, again, I didn't pop for that segment as much as I did the others, just for that reason.
Yeah, I think that the important part is that, you know, Rob, I didn't expect you to have any specific perspective. I'm interested to know what you guys think about these things. I think it's cool to hear the different takes and how they line up. I mean, my wife thinks I have cringy jokes half the time, and she still legitimately, and this is not blowing smoke, this is shooting, she bought the Zicky Dice shirt the second that it showed up on the ad. Like she ordered the Zicky Dice shirt. Like she loves Zicky Dice and she loved that shirt, and so it's on the way to the house, you know, as far as I know. But it's just it's weird how these things line up for different people. It's interesting to me. Like I understand that sometimes I can be abrasive just because, well, to put it bluntly, I think a lot of times, a lot of it is the fact that I have not raised kids yet. You know, like I told you guys the other night that a lot, you know, like I've watched my language more because of like Piper's notes and that sort of thing. My wife had to be like, "You're talking to a little girl. Make sure you are nice with the way that you say things." And I'm like, all right. But I feel like I can turn it off and turn it on, but I don't even realize sometimes like how I can sound sometimes. And I think it's just that different perspective that you gain when you have lots of younger people around you and that sort of thing. So I'm always interested to hear where people
Well, Garrett, let me
come
say
from.
too,
So,
there's nothing wrong with being a human being. I mean, I'm not a Marvel man. Again, I like adult humor. My wife and I like to go out and do things. We like to go to the nightclub. We like to, you know, I'm drinking a beer right now. I'm not saying that none of that's appropriate, but you know, it's like when the NWA is such a complete, it should be digestible for everybody. Like going back to the Attitude Era that we've mentioned a couple times, I would not tolerate that in my house. I don't like it. It's trashy. I don't think there's a place for it. I think that's a black mark on the history of wrestling. I think a lot of what the AEW does is very positive, but I'm really put off by how a great talent like MJF is wasting himself. I'm just trying to be the most outlandish heel, not to use that word outlandish in a vain way, but flipping off a kid in an autograph signing. To me, that's wrestling is a consumer sport. And at some point, I hate the word mark, man. I hate that. Because like, I'm a freaking mark. What are you talking about? You get to do what you do because, I mean, I'm also a baseball mark, by the way. And they get to do what they do because I'm a huge baseball fan. So I never liked that. But I would be open for something like an NWA After Hours or NWA After Dark, where it's an adult themed show that you're not going to lose the storyline, you're not going to lose the narrative, but then you can go in and Zicky Dice can let loose and Aldous can talk about Magnus feeling like an S&M guy, you know, coming out of an S&M club and Eli Drake can just not be bleeped out. Just let it loose. I mean, I'm not saying that those words never escape my mouth. I'm a human being too. And you find that kind of language in the Bible with the Apostle Paul and all that. So let's not take the human element. I just think that the NWA, what it's offered so far, has been packaged at 6:05, or 6 o'clock or 6:05. I'm sorry. And it is something that this is something that should be during those hours should be palatable for the entire household. And for the most part, it really is. But let those guys be creative and let's create an avenue for it. Let's do NWA After Dark.
For the record, I'm pretty sure that this show is NWA After Dark.
It feels like it, right? And the further I think that I'm getting notes from my wife that are blurry. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to do with the stupid camera. I can't help you. But anyway, the more I think we're not moving fast enough or we should wrap it up, the more people are messaging me on Twitter and in the chat and everywhere that I'm talking. So it's kind of fun to talk to everybody. And I feel like we give it an opportunity for everybody to express themselves and exactly what they're thinking. For instance, Andrew McKinney says, I completely agree, Doc. The Attitude Era is trash. It's the moment when sports entertainment became the dominant pro wrestling genre. And something about Chris Johnson wanting.
And that bled over, man. And that permeated all of wrestling, man. That was really a dark era. I mean, it's one that we don't go back and look at that stuff. I mean, I was aware and I was watching because I just love wrestling and I felt like, there's a fear of missing out, but that's not necessary. That's not necessary. Wrestling is the modern day morality play. And there has to be a way to present that's going to stand the test of time. And for me, with Piper's Notes, one of the big motivations, and this comes up in virtually every episode, is we want to show that wrestling is not an enterprise for and I hate to use this too because I don't like that word redneck. I mean, people live in trailers and they like wrestling, and that's not the worst thing in the world. But it's not this hick thing with people out there just being ignorant and all that, and it's a bunch of racists that like this. Wrestling appeals to the better angels of our nature and to a great part of our intellect. And I think that the Attitude Era and those elements betray that. It betrays that. I mean, I think that wrestling should be something that has some literary merit to it and should stand the test of time. Something that 100 years from now, like we are now when we talk about George Hackenschmidt and Frank Gotch, we look back on those eras. I want 100 years from now to people say, man, there was the epic reign of Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis held the title for 1,000 and something days in this era that no one held the belt that long. Where in the WWE, the belt was turning over because of attention spans. It was turning over every couple of weeks. This was the era that stands the test of time. I don't know how else to put it, but that's what I want. That's my vision for wrestling. And I think Billy Corgan and David Lagana, they bring that, man. I think that's what when David Lagana said something, and I don't remember the exact quote, and Lagana and I don't talk like you guys do, but he said something about we're going to be the adults in the room. That's what I want. I want the NWA to be the adults in the room. And so that's where where my comments are coming from. And they are.
Well, what's funny about that, to jump in there, something that's funny to me is, to give credit, WWE Front Rows in the chat saying, I feel like if you're old enough to get the references, you're old enough to hear them. That's an interesting perspective too. And a valid one. I mean, that's kind of where I've pretty much landed, but it's crazy too. We're talking about this and at the end of the day, I mean, God, if you haven't been following William Patrick Corgan, Billy Corgan on Instagram, the dude's been going at it on Q&As every single night, just trying to provide some entertainment during the quarantine, the lockdown, that sort of thing. But that man, he's got 2 kids of his own. He's got a lady, he's got 2 kids, he's raising a family. And he is a guy that you want to talk about an advocate for the family and how important family values are and the morals that are in families and what families do together and see and hear and that sort of thing. Billy Corgan's it, man. It's crazy. At the end of the day, we're talking about all this stuff, but Billy Corgan to a fault, and I say to a fault, like as in he's received criticism probably for like how much he attributes decline in anything in society to lack of the familial system. It's that's a man who cares about that exact kind of thing. Like it's just interesting to me to like, as we're talking about it, I started thinking about like the stuff I've seen him talk about lately. And so I think these thoughts and like where everybody's at family wise are not unheard by a guy like him. Like I think he totally gets it.
And it's evident.
Guys,
it's evident in the product that they put out. The product is
yeah.
overwhelmingly digestible by families, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. Guys, I mean, the Zicky Dice thing was essentially the end of CARNYLAND as far as segments go. So the big takeaway that you got towards the very end is, here's the thing. I mean, right now they have announced that you can be on Patreon. I'll pull that up over my phone here in a second, and we can go through the levels if we want to or whatever we want to do. But even cooler, and J. Cal kind of brought this up earlier, but they've announced that, like, I mean, now, God dang, it's every day, dudes, with the NWA. You were worried about, like, what are they going to do? What are the plans? What are the ideas? And Monday mornings, what's causing Aldis? Nick Aldis has a regular show. Tuesdays, it's CARNYLAND. Wednesdays, Inside the NWA. Thursdays, the Eli Drake Show, and Fridays, Girl Power. We didn't hear really anything about what that is or what it's going to be or whatever. It's every day. It's every day, like Will said. Like it's, I mean, at least 5 days a week. You're going to have some sort of NWA content now. How you guys feeling about that? What do you, like, initial thoughts, reactions?
I mean, I'm excited because if you're familiar with my journey, I started like a month ago, binging the 10 pounds of gold, binged, NWA Power, and caught up last week with Superpower. So there's been like a little bit of a void for the last 7 days. So the fact that I'm going to get some new content, almost every day, that's exciting for me because I was getting used to that.
Yeah, man, I can't. I'm up for it, man. I can't wait to see every single one of those segments that are going to come on each day are compelling, especially the Girl Power one. You said that they didn't talk about, but my mind is just exploding about what that's going to be. I can't wait because I think women's wrestling is one of those areas that women wrestlers are like the unheralded heroes, and they still kind of. Even though people, you've got to get a big push in WWE and AEW and all that. It's like, I feel like in the NWA, you're really seeing women wrestlers being able to embrace their personalities and compete as athletic competitors. And I cannot wait to see what this means because obviously it's going to involve Allison Kay, who I love, Thunder Rosa, who I love, Camille, Marty Bell. Oh my gosh, man. I can't say enough about Marty Bell. This women's division is going to be freaking crazy. And I don't know, you look out on social media and you see videos of like Mae Valentine even going in the ring and doing some training and stuff like that. So perhaps she gets her foot in that also. So I love the women's division, man. And my daughter, I have daughters. I've got 3 daughters and 1 son. One of my sons and daughters is off at college, and then my other 2 daughters are here, and they love that women's division, man. It appeals to them, and I cannot wait to see that Friday segment, man. I cannot wait.
Yeah, I somebody's WWE front row in the chat says, do we know if this new schedule starts next week? I mean, I have to assume that it does. I mean, Lagana, if he is still listening, might be able to better answer that in the chat. But I feel like we definitely heard that Gally was saying that Inside the NWA drops tomorrow. So we can expect that with the interview. And I hinted at it earlier with Lagana. So, yeah, I think that's pretty set that Corgan and Lagana, we're going to hear from them tomorrow. And, I feel like the Eli Drake show is probably ready to go. I mean, yeah, I think it's starting now. Clearly they showed a clip from What's Causing All This. So again, looks like content that's ready to drop. So I'm interested to see what they do. And yeah, Chris Johnson in the chat saying 7 days is what I wish that void was for the rest of us. Glad you're in now though, Will. Yeah, I think you'll get 5 days of NWA content, but we fellas are planning on dropping. Well, obviously, hey, it's Will Daily is going to be dropping every single day. We're going to have This Is the NWA Weekly, which we plan on dropping. I assume will probably be normally on Mondays. It just wasn't this time because A, I was learning my editing skills, and B, the Ricky Starks news, along with Monday was just a effed up day in general with news in the wrestling world with Shad Gaspard and everything else. Like, it was just a crazy day, but so it ended up dropping on Tuesday. But normally I think Monday will be This Is the NWA. The weekly shows for us is going to be to recap everything else that's going on. But no, this gives us plenty to cover. And this is not even, by the way, I mean, we're talking about What's Causing All This, CARNYLAND, Inside the NWA, the Eli Drake Show, Girl Power, and you're not even talking about what does Nick Aldis drop on his channel? What does Camille drop? She's been dropping something every Tuesday at 7 on her channel. Thunder Rose has been very good about live streaming and dropping stuff on her channel. You know, I don't want to speak too out of school, but I've heard from other folks that might be interested in starting some things up on their own too that are involved in the NWA. This is what a time to be alive. The NWA, out of all the companies, dude, this is the thing. I'll just leave it with this so we can get your final thoughts on CARNYLAND, and then we can go to see if there's anything left in the chat we need to cover. But I will say this, that I preach this over and over again, and I still stand by it, that the NWA not only produces content in and outside of the ring, that they've been so good about what they do, and this is further proof of it, that create a fan base that continues to produce content. Their talent is out there creating content. Meanwhile, your other companies, I feel like, are, you know, like if you looked at WWE, they're like scrambling. They're like, I guess we do empty arena shows now, and we'll just do that, and we'll try to make them sound as good as possible. And, you know, not to knock them, but AEW too. And I said this at the beginning of this whole thing when people were asking, like, what is the NWA going to do? I was like, dude, the NWA was doing content before anybody was watching already. Like, they know how to pivot. They know how to handle it. And if this is not more proof of it, I don't know what you need. Like, these guys are still out there without, and like Robert Simpson said, wanting them to be the adults in the room. They're putting their best foot forward. Like, how can we best produce content without putting anybody at risk, without doing anything outside of what is expected of us as a society right now? Like, God, I mean, this is incredible. Guys, CARNYLAND ended up, for me, my final thought would be that it ended up being exactly what everybody thought it was going to be. Like, it was literally like all of those things. Somebody called it an SNL show, and it, like, that almost matches up, except it wasn't like hilarious the whole time. It was just like, though it was as Galley kept saying, CARNYLAND is not one thing. Like, it's these multiple things, and it just, every theory that someone posited, it seems like they had it covered tonight.
Exactly, man. It's like it provided, it was everything to everybody and nothing to nobody, or you know what I mean? I mean, it's like it was great, man. And someone mentioned in the chat, and I'd have to scroll back to see, but someone mentioned that at no point was the sport of professional wrestling scandalized or trivialized or embarrassed or anything like that. I mean, the integrity of the sport, the greatest sport in the world, was upheld and maintained, and we got to get inside the worlds of our favorite NWA stars, and we had content that intrigues us, stuff that the whole family could digest. I am a huge fan of CARNYLAND, and now I'm like worried. I'm like, gosh, once Power starts back, because it's coming back. Once Power starts back, can we still have CARNYLAND? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, one thing I've said a lot is, like, for me, my favorite part of wrestling is character development and storytelling. I mean, CARNYLAND, that's what it is. I mean, it is these individual platforms for each of these characters to further develop their character. And so I'm all in, and I can't wait to start keeping up with it, covering it on the Daily Show, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. It definitely exceeded my expectations. I joke. I mean, what time is it? Yeah. I mean, my fear was we wouldn't have a lot to talk about tonight because it was going to be something not bad, but just something different. And it'd be hard for us to cover because we're used to covering wrestling, but obviously that wasn't true. So it was awesome.
Well, if we proved anything, is that the dichotomy of the three of us, we can freaking talk forever. But it's also a testament to the people in the chat. You guys have been going the whole entire time. It's been impressive. Some people have come and gone, and like some of you are still there. And we want to address anything that you guys have on your mind. We got a few minutes left here before we have to wrap this thing up. So now's the time. If you guys have questions or specific topics you want us to talk about, here you go. Also, make sure you've hit that like button and the subscribe button. We appreciate that. And you can also hit the little bell icon that's in the bottom right of the screen, because it lets you know whenever we go live or when anything else posts. Yeah, man, I think that the cool thing with CARNYLAND is, I think J. Cal looked at it. I feel like, and he says he was playing it. Maybe he was, or maybe he wasn't, but he looked at it. It looks like these guys are tackling a thing that we do already. And my thought was that the reason that we do the thing that we do is because we're tackling a part of the wrestling industry that we think people are interested in, that the wrestling industry is not already doing. So if the wrestling industry starts doing that thing, which it sounds like the NWA is trying to pivot and cover some of those bases, then that gives us an opportunity to, like, all right, we're helping evolve it. Like, what's the next thing? Like, how do we make this thing the best thing that it could be? How do we make wrestling be on top of the world like it used to be? The NWA, I feel like, is the most open to those kind of suggestions and those kind of ideas. And I always appreciate them for that. Like, they seem very open with their audience. And, wrestling is in a weird spot right now. But again, WWE's over there just throwing out empty arena shows. They're trying. They just
Are they?
Climb. They had to climb WWE corporate headquarters, and God bless AEW. They're doing their thing, but it's like, who's doing unique, like, stuff that has never been seen before out of wrestling? Who has Allison Kay running through promo school for you on screen tonight? Like, that's cool. And God, if you've been a wrestling fan like we've been a wrestling fan, when you saw that Allison Kay segment, you were like, oh no, I saw all those promos. Like, that's a WWE promo. Like, that feels right. It's just interesting to hear her play that out. So anyway, we're going to you guys in the chat. Go ahead, Will. Yeah,
I'll say a couple things while you're catching up on the chat and getting us ready if we need to talk about anything. I mean, who would have thought, and this is not a knock on the current NWA, obviously, but who would have thought a few years ago that what you just said, Gary, what wrestling promotion during a time like this is the most creative and innovative and putting out the most valuable content? Who would have thought that would be the National Wrestling Alliance in 2016? You know what I mean? So the fact that we are here now is a testament to professional wrestling in general, because professional wrestling fans still exist. The three of us are here. There's a ton of people in the chat. There's a ton of people that we interact with every day, not sports entertainment, professional wrestling. And so, the fact that this is happening, whether, and we go through segment by segment and we're going to dissect it because that's what we do. But whether it's your favorite thing in the world that's ever happened or not, the fact that it's happening is a great thing. And so I'm going to continue to talk about it. I know the three of us are going to continue to talk about it. And I'll say this, because Gary shoulders a lot of the promotional burden about liking and subscribing and that kind of stuff. And I don't do a great job of that on my show, but I'll say this: when you guys like and subscribe to our channel, when you comment, when you share it out, you're not fluffing up our egos. You're enhancing the NWA, because we're not making money off this. We do this because we love it. So you doing that is investing into a grassroots movement that is here to enhance the product of the NWA. That's what we're here to do. And so I'm going to start doing a better job of that, Gary, just to remind people of that. But please share it out. Please, when I put my shows out daily, whether it's your cup of tea or not, just put it out there, and maybe we can continue to get the word out about the NWA and the fact that there is, quality content being made by a wrestling promotion in 2020, because let's be honest, it's rare right now. And so, so that's my spiel.
100% agree, man. There's been nothing like this since, the early 90s. I mean, this is it. I feel now like I felt as a kid in 1986 watching the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express go toe to toe. And so this isn't about myself or Gary or Will. This is about elevating the NWA. Again, we don't make any money. We're a family man. We take time away from our family to promote and elevate and help try to do what we can in our small measure to enhance this great, amazing company that is interwoven in the fabric of American history. And I love it. We're devoted to it. And we will, you guys respond to us. We will interact with you, and whatever you can do to help us in this crusade, as it were, not to make a pun on the Aldous Crusade or anything like that, but to this crusade of really making sure that the NWA perseveres and will be remembered and continues to exist as the premier wrestling organization, the greatest wrestling organization in the history of the world, because that's exactly what it is. And it is now.
Yeah, I think I'm 100% with you. Rob and Will couldn't say it better than what you guys just said it. If you're in the chat room right now, let us know what you want to hear about. We want to talk to you. We're probably going to lock this down for the podcast portion of the show, and we'll stick around for a few minutes afterwards to talk to you people in the live chat. This is Gary Horn. The show is at the NWA Pod. Rob, Will, start with Rob, I guess. Tell everybody where they can find you online if they're listening to this thing.
Right. You can find me on Twitter at rstinson4. That's the number 4. I'm also on Facebook as Robert Stinson, and I am on YouTube as Stinson Vision. That is kind of our channel. We have multiple projects there that I do with my family. All of them are more or less wrestling related, some more than others. I have one called Table Talk, which is kind of my father experiences with my youngest daughter, Petra. With my other kids, I wasn't always there. I was a military guy. I was an infantry officer for several years. And so I was away, deployed, and this and that, and didn't get to enjoy a lot of those childhood experiences. And so this is a chance for me with Petra, my youngest, to kind of document her childhood, and just we do some life lessons and some funny things, and it's really a lot of fun. I really love that. And then Stinson Vision is something that my wife and I have just started up, and it's kind of, you've seen the little channels where you do the little questions about how well do you know your mate and all that. And my wife is she's beautiful. She's such a supportive person. She loves the National Wrestling Alliance, and you will see more of her. And then, of course, what we're probably best known for in this audience is Piper's Notes, which is our effort to illustrate, like I said earlier, that wrestling is a legitimate cultural pursuit that has implications for for theater, for music, for philosophy, theology, mythology, for all those things that make us human beings and appeal to our instincts. Wrestling is the dawn of wrestling. One of our members of our fan community, she always puts it this way, that wrestling is the penultimate expression of all those things. It's the convergence of all those pursuits. And I really, truly believe that. I mean, wrestling raised my brother and I, wrestling in the Atlanta Braves. And a lot of what I learned and a lot of what I instill into my children, I learned from the National Wrestling Alliance. And so I want to bestow that upon my kids too. And I hope you guys can share that.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Hey It's Will with 1 L. I do a daily show on this channel. Maybe soon to be on the audio podcast channel as well. I think Gary and I are talking about that.
Yeah. Well, it got away from me today, but yeah. Starting tomorrow, you'll start seeing the Hey It's Will Daily start throwing up on the audio feed.
Yeah, so subscribe to the podcast as well, and you can have that on your commute whenever those start back up. And then also I host a podcast with my wife called Activate and Achieve. My wife is a life coach. And so we have a weekly podcast where we just talk about personal growth and development. And so if you're into that kind of stuff, go check that out as well.
Oh, Will, don't pass that off lightly. Guys, the NWA fam is a serious thing. Like hashtag NWA fam, like we mean it, and you should drop into our Discord. We'll post the link in the description or just DM one of us and we'll be happy to send it to you. The NWA fam is a place that not only are we talking about wrestling all the time, but we also are there for each other as an actual family. Like, we love you guys and we mean it. We mean the support. It's the same with the NWA, I assure you. I mean, one thing I wanted to say about what Rob was talking about earlier is that this is legitimately a wrestling company where what you think matters. That I know it's hard to grasp. You're used to being abused and disused or whatever the words are for like a WWE kind of corporation. The NWA cares what you think. The NWA is trying to produce content that they think that you'll like. They want to hear what you do like, what you don't like. They want to know because they're trying to model that thing. You have an active opportunity to mold and create what kind of entertainment you want to see, and you can do that right now. Not only that, though, the NWA fam goes far beyond that. If you caught this show at the very beginning, we were talking about me and whiskey and drinking and marital situations and all sorts of things. It's hilarious, but it's also the truth. Like, we look at each other as a family. Like, we talk about whatever you want. Like, I literally made a channel in our Discord for hashtag NWA fam where it was like the pinned comment is that we can talk about whatever you need to talk about here. Rob, Will, and myself have a big stake in personal growth and self-improvement and that sort of thing. So if those things are things you're interested in, Will, what he was just talking about with his wife is no joke. In fact, stay tuned because we're going to be trying to help promote some of the stuff that she's doing as well. Natalia is a wonderful human being, and she's just trying to like get it out there for folks to gratitude journal, just that kind of thing. Stay tuned for links for that because, Will, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, but we'd love for some people to join up from one of the classes that she's got it going on here pretty soon.
Yeah. And I mean, we're, hashtag NWA fam, more than happy to give out some discount codes and stuff like that for some of her workshops, because we, especially right now, she and I are really passionate about this because these times are so weird. And there's a lot of people, out of work that didn't think they would be, a lot of people going through things that they didn't think they'd be going through. And so, as I've mentioned before, my wife has a degree in psychology and in counseling. And so, that's she's here and she's completely online. So she can have sessions and have chats and help out anybody around the world, really. And so if that's something you're into, drop me a line. I'm happy to connect you with the stuff that she's doing. And as Gary said, we'll probably just share out some stuff that may be helpful to everybody.
Yeah, I know my wife and I are going to be taking one of our classes upcoming here in the next couple of days, that just as far as the journaling thing and just trying to just give yourself an opportunity to express gratitude for the things that are going great, like CARNYLAND. I'll bring it back around. Hey, if you're listening on the audio portion of the show, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you tune in on Tuesday nights, usually about 8:30. That's when we're going to drop everything and go live with you guys and interact with you all night long, apparently, because we're still here right now. This show's still going. But if you're listening on the podcast portion, thank you very much. We love you guys. Take care. And if you're in the live chat, stick around, because we're going to stay with you for just another couple of minutes. All right, live chat. That's where if my editing is on par, we're gonna do things. But let's do it. If you're in the live chat right now, whatever the hell you want to talk about, now's the time. I tweeted it out. We're here. Some of us have to go to bed eventually, but I feel like Rob and Will are first now just getting the high of like just being online and like experiencing just the community.
Being
They're
online.
willing to talk to you about. Yeah. Being
This
online.
This is the first time I've been online, man.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. You can you could go anywhere. It's like reading Rainbow, but he's like full of crap.
Yeah, I'm still on dial-up. I'm still on dial-up over here. So,
the Beard Wrestling Alliance. Have you seen this in the chat? By the way,
yeah,
it's a real thing.
The BWA, baby.
Oh man. The Attitude Era appeal to basics just for ratings. The focus went from wrestling to television production. We don't have to talk all day about this, but I was thinking, like, when you were talking about the Attitude Era earlier, and Will made the reference to like the live sex show that Edge and Lita did. I saw a clip of that somebody put on Twitter the other day. And I mean, literally, this is like a week or two ago. And me of all people, because let me tell you, I know some jokes, man, but I was watching that scene and I was like, what are they doing? Like, is this a real thing,
man?
I was like, this is freaking stupid.
We're human beings, and we all have everybody. I mean, human nature hasn't changed in 10,000 years, man. We are who we are. We all have base instincts. And I derived as much pleasure seeing Sable come out. And I thought it was freaking funny when Val Venus would do his stuff. But, at the time, I wasn't, I was at a different point in my life, and I wasn't focused on, I guess, eternal things. And I wasn't focused on being a responsible, role model to my kids and this and that. I was in the military. So, the military typically, I was an infantry officer, and that's a very brutal, very stressful profession, and it lends itself to baseness, and nothing, no shade on them. I honor all that, but that's a very savage thing. And I felt like that in my life, that kind of wrestling was very savage. And it just, I don't have a taste for it, man. It's like, my kids don't need it. There's enough wholesome pursuits out there, from Broadway to literature to this and that if wrestling is going to have a foothold in my household, it's going to have to pursue those areas. It doesn't need to go to Val Venus with his towel and his porno movie innuendos and all that, with the freaking sex show and all that crap, But, at the time, like I said, I freaking thought Sable was sizzling, man. I'm not going to lie. But it doesn't have any place for my kids. And I'm at the point now, and maybe I feel like with my Petra is really getting the best version of me because I'm older and more mature. She's my youngest, and I kind of feel guilty about my other kids. But, I really want to kind of shape and be the best that I can to provide her with content and expose her to experiences that are worth retaining and worth delivering to her kids, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and for me, as I was saying earlier, just to expound on that, I mean, So using a recent example, I don't know if you guys followed the storyline in WWE with Rusev and his real life wife, Lana. And then they had a storyline that she divorced him and married Bobby Lashley. And it was just like, I'm like you. When I was watching that Attitude Era stuff, I was in a completely different place in life. And now I'm married and I have children. And to me, the most important thing is, first of all, my relationship with my wife, and then my relationship with my kids. And so when I watch something like that now, it makes me, it's not even that it's a moral thing where I'm like judging them or anything. It's just like, that's not entertaining. That's the furthest thing from entertainment to me, because that's like a sorrowful thing to see a marriage split up, and again, no judgment. I know people go through that, but it's like, for me personally right now, it's just not something that I consider entertainment from a company that calls themselves entertainment, so.
Exactly.
Dude, I look at all of this stuff. I think like, as I look at it, and I think of myself as, oh God, I'm probably the most uncouth person. Like, sometimes I make like terrible jokes. Like, sometimes I make jokes that I don't even realize are bad jokes at the time. Like, I just make jokes, like, especially with the whiskey or whatever, like, I'm like, all right, I'm just like having fun. I don't give a shit. Like, well, like that, I just said shit. Normally I try to censor myself on YouTube. But anyway, my point is that, like, if I catch myself watching something and I'm like, holy crap, like that's a lot. Like, what are you doing? I feel like I don't know. For some reason, that's when it like really catches me now. Cause I'm like, when I saw that clip of the Edge and Lita sex show the other day on Twitter, I was like, they did that? Who does that? Like, you can't, that's way too much. Like, what was I doing? And I'm with you, Rob. I at the time, I think I was like, oh, I've been using the Steve Austin meme that like makes me laugh so many times every time I post it. The oh hell yeah meme, where it's just like his goofy grin and it says like oh yeah. But that's how I was at the time. I was like, oh hell yeah. But now, like, watching it, I'm like, oh, come on, man. Like, you can't.
And this speaks to the bigger question of like, what is wrestling? What is this that we're so into? Like, what attracted me to wrestling as a child wasn't that. It wasn't that. If I want that, I can go to freaking whatever X-Hamster or Pornhub or whatever and get that. I don't need wrestling to be that.
That's not a plug.
No, it's definitely not a plug. I don't even know what.
Hey, you do the sites. We'll post links in the description.
About that. My friends told me about that. I mean, it's like, there are avenues to deliver if that's what you need. There are avenues for that. What is wrestling though? Wrestling is at least supposed to at least pretend to be a competition sport. Yep. It should at least pretend to be that. And if it doesn't, then it's not wrestling anymore. Then it's Jerry Springer. It's Shock TV. And I don't want the sport that I love, wrestling first and then baseball second. I don't want my sports to become Shock TV. I want it to have an air of the common threads that permeate like human, the human plight. I want to see good versus evil. I want to see the struggle of the good guy struggling against the system. I want to see the good guy win, not always, but ultimately. And I want to see the complexity that, like we see, and this has come up before in the NWA. I don't believe we have heels in the NWA. I don't believe it. I think that every character that we have, every star has something that appeals to something virtuous in us, and there's something tragic about all of them too. Nick Aldis. I think Nick Aldis doesn't win in shady ways. I mean, when he wins legitimately. Is there self-interest there? Yes, there is self-interest there, but he's not a heel in the carnival sense. So, if you want that kind of like vulgarity, I guess in our human nature, there's a place to serve that, but it shouldn't be wrestling. And that's my take. There's 8 billion people in the world, so there are 8 billion takes, and I'm not the Pope. I'm not the one that draws the line on that. But for my household, that's where I see it coming down at.
You're not the Pope. What the hell are we doing? No, I will speak for everybody that my favorite part of these things is the after hours portion where we just get into the chat room and I can learn more about my new best friends, Will and Rob Stinson, not married, the Will Martin and Rob Stinson.
You stole my joke.
Will joke.
Not anymore.
I was announcing it. I announced that I stole your joke. No. So let's I want to work down this chat room because people are still chatting, and we got to move past Rob Stinson plugging porn sites on the feed. WWE Front Row says, I wonder if Girl Power will feature independent female talents in addition to NWA stars. Lots of great people on the scene. I feel like the NWA has done some of that. Camille completely destroyed Maddie Max Front Row. If you're still watching, you probably correct me on that. I think that was her name. We've seen in Circle Squared. Will, I don't know if you've had a chance to check those out. I love the Circle Squared. I'm a big fan. I've interviewed everybody on the Circle Squared except for the one episode that hasn't aired. But Freya the Slaya, she's from Alaska. She was in the Circle Squared. The Circle Squared was almost like an America's Got Talent of wrestling. Like they just threw people in a ring that are independent wrestlers. Danny Jordan, the real mean girl, who since Circle Squared has shown up in like AEW a few times now. Like she's wrestling on like AEW Dark. I think literally tonight she was on there. So God bless her, Danny Jordan. Probably one of my favorite interviews I've had. Like she was a lot of fun to talk to. And there's more. There's the American Kaiju, and her name slips my mind, but that is her name. And Lindsay Snow. It just came back to me because she is Lindsay Snow, the American Kaiju. She is a
great gimmick.
She's badass.
Badass, man. I love Lindsay Snow. And Lindsay Snow and Danny Jordan had a pretty notable feud in other.
They appear to be like regular. Like they've had like a couple of years of just like on and off again. Like they feud on the independent circuit, and people love to see them fight.
Not to give a spoiler for Piper's Notes, but we had Danny Jordan on Piper's Notes, and Piper was so intrigued by the burn book. We asked her who was the first person that made it into her burn book, and you can guess who it was. Lindsay Snow.
No, nice. Oh, that's beautiful. Is that one going to get launched on the NWA pod here?
Oh yeah, all of them. Bro,
I love that.
Yeah.
Danny Jordan is Danny Jordan's one of those. Yeah, she's a star already. Like she just is. If you haven't seen Danny Jordan, take some time tomorrow. Go look her up. Look her up. She's good. She's great. What about James Storm? Is he coming back or not? What are you talking about, Lavi? James Storm has never left. He's one half of the NWA Tag Team Champions. He's coming back. Let's see. More expanded roster for Power from Willie Bowen. Willie, I don't I mean, the thing is, everybody that leaves opens up a new spot for somebody else, I guess. The NWA roster I've come to accept is going to be one of those that is like the territory days. Those guys are going to be, there's going to be people in and out. The world champ is the world champ. The title holders are the title holders, but we're going to see people making their names as new stars on the scene, and we're going to see people showing back up that are trying to reestablish their names. Guys, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, exactly. I think we're in a strange time right now because I don't think when we talk about roster expansion, this is probably not the time we're going to see that. I don't think we're going to hear through any of these CARNYLAND shows or anything like that. They're like, hey, we've added a new talent. I think that'll wait until in-ring competition resumes in front of a crowd. But I think when that does happen, I think we're absolutely going to see multiple new faces, probably people, like you said, that we've heard of, that maybe they're reestablishing themselves, or people we've never heard of, like a Ricky Starks. I think the next Ricky Starks is out there right now, probably not working because he's an indie wrestler, he or she, and we're gonna meet them eventually.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think there was an allusion to there about the championship, the legitimacy of a championship reign during a period when a title's not being defended. And I just want to remind everybody that point A, one, that these circumstances are out of everybody's control. The champions are the champions. But two, it's not uncommon in the history of the World's Championship that there be lengthy periods. Back in the day, back in the golden days with Lou Thez and those guys, Pat O'Connor, the title might be defended once or twice a year. There have been chances, periods in the modern era, like in WWE, where Brock Lesnar might go 97 days without defending the belt. So lengthy title reigns are, to me, they're irrelevant. It's like, yeah, they haven't defended the belt, but no one's been able to challenge for the belt either. It is what it is. They're the circumstances. The days count. They are the champions. Roster expansion, in time, that's coming in time, and we've got to get things back to normal again, and we've got to get the economy flowing. And but yes, our company is in good hands, and they have a strategy and a view in place that's 8, 9, 10 steps ahead of everybody else. And I'm looking at Andrew McKinney making a very brilliant point. Prize fighters. You go back to like Mike Tyson in his heyday, 86, 87, 88. He might defend the title on a good year 3 times, maybe. Normally it was probably less than that, maybe twice a year. So, Nick Aldis is a prize fighter. I guarantee he wants to be defending that belt. He did the whole Aldis Crusade and defended the belt so many times in so many days. But the situation is what it is. He's our champion. These days count. And, the day tomorrow will be day 578, I believe.
Wow, I love that you keep track of it. That's awesome. And
well, it's on my. I've got my screensaver set to that. That might seem a little creepy, but
not at all.
No, it's fine. It's fine. All right. I saw a report. Andrew McKinney says I saw a report that WWE might be loosening the restrictions on the word wrestling. How embarrassing. How insecure must the McMahon family be to refuse to acknowledge that wrestlers wrestle? What, Will, you were nodding your head yes. Do you know what he's talking about?
Yeah, so this was an article on What Culture Wrestling Today that I shared out. But apparently, in the last, I don't know how many years, you won't hear the word wrestling on WWE. They're not called wrestlers. They're called superstars. And they don't call them wrestling matches. They'll call them matches, but largely it may be a written rule, but it could just be an unwritten rule from the top down that, they are sports entertainment, and they, so the commentators don't call it wrestling. That is embarrassing because it's literally in the name of your company, that you're a wrestling company. And so, it's just another example of, as we were talking about with the Attitude Era, that they things just got off the rails. I think the WWE was drunk with the success of the Attitude Era and decided that entertainment was the way to go, and we're going to go so far as to not even use the word wrestling. According to the article, I believe the report is that Paul Heyman is the one that's trying to implement the W word more. And so I think that it is sad. And when I read that article and I shared it out, I think my comment was, so glad to be an NWA fan where this is pro wrestling and you don't have to be ashamed of it. That's what we're fans of. So yeah, that was the gist of it.
Yeah. I don't even know where to go with that. That seems, I literally today I listened to the Chris Jericho interview with the Revival. FTR, as we've previously discussed. But just hearing the conversation between them, it's silly. I don't know. The WWE doesn't make a lot of sense to me half the time. I saw. Let's go. Willie Boa says NWA Pro Wrestling never insulted wrestling fans' intelligence. WWE Attitude Era was low-level garbage. I feel like we kind of hit on that a little bit. WWE Front Row says we need a Shooter Stevens / Hamilton skit.
Oh,
Piper
my
probably
gosh.
be on board for that.
Don't throw away your shot, man. Don't throw away your shot. I love it.
I see some stuff about Rusev and Lana. We're at After Dark, so I'm trying to catch up on the comments. Front Row says we are moments away from Guns Out Gary. If you guys don't know, that shirt is available in the bio. Just click through. We haven't changed anything about the merch store, but there's definitely a Guns Out Gary shirt because I used to go sleeveless a lot. Lana Lashley Rusev is trash, absolute trash. It was a complete waste of space. Thank you, Andrew. Dave Scooby says, I can still see your face, Gary. Drink up. Working on it.
You can see it's getting lower. You can see. Look at it.
A little bit. You're dipping a little.
He's straightening up now because he was called out on it, but before that, he was about.
Oh my god. Lavi like DM'd me over here in the side like during this whole thing. She was like, I love these shows, these are so fun, thank you guys for doing them and all of this stuff. And I was like, great, you have a good night, lovely lady. And she was like, you have a good night, bourbon man. I was like, wait, what? It's like, what the fuck? Oh, sorry,
there it is.
Yeah. Buckle up, everybody.
Right.
Why did Gary say? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh my god.
Long gone, bro.
Yeah. All right. Fine. Boxing championships. This is from Andrew McKinney. As we move down these topics to try to wrap this thing up, boxing championships are defended like 3 times a year. You don't need a world championship match every week. I said this to Nick Aldis. Like, I feel like the first power. We saw him in the back, and my wife was like, we didn't see Nick that much tonight. And I was like, you shouldn't see Nick that much every night. Like, I was like, Nick's the world's heavyweight champion. Like, Nick shows up when it's important. Like, that's how it is. I don't know. I like the idea that when Nick Aldis shows up on your television screen on NWA Power, it's a big deal that he's showing up, and he does not have a match every week like in WWE. The world champion like fights literally every week. Somebody starts off the show saying how they fight the world champion, and then they get a shot, and that's it. No, the world champion fights when it means something for them to fight. Am I wrong?
Yeah, and no, you're not. And the term fighting champion was something I first heard to start being overused in WWE. And it became this idea, and they were having on some of their mid-level championships, I guess they were having open challenges. I know Cena, I think, was doing one with the US title. They were having him with the IC belt at one time, and it just further perpetuated this like ultimately it devalued the titles is what ultimately it did, because you knew that you were going to get a squash match or something every week just to make the champ look stronger, but it didn't. It just made the belt look weaker. And so I 100% agree with you that it should always mean something. And, case in point with the Crockett Cup 2019 that we watched all together over the weekend, that Marty Scurll Nick Aldis match, there was a buildup, and there was, it wasn't just, oh, you pissed me off one day, so let's have a title fight. I mean, it meant something. They had banners hanging from the rafters, full shots of the fighters. You know, I mean, that's how those matches should feel. And if Nick Aldis is coming out and defending the title every week on Power, it doesn't feel like that. I mean, then you see a title fight at the Crockett Cup, and it's like, well, yeah, I saw 5 of these, you know, on weekly television. It doesn't mean the same.
Sure. I mean, you look at the banners and you automatically think of like Apollo Creed and Rocky Balboa. It had that serious, like that. Even watching that movie, knowing that it was fiction, it had like this like gravitas about it. Like, this is a big deal. I love that movie. But, you know, going to what Will says, it's not everybody gets to compete for the National Football Championship in college football. Not everybody gets to compete for the Super Bowl. You earn that right to do so. And the integrity of the title, I think, is intrinsically wrapped up with the integrity of the champion. And so someone who goes out there and flippantly defends the title or demeans it by defending it in a – I hate gimmick title defenses. Like, I hate seeing the title defended in triple threat or fatal four-way circumstances. To me, the only gimmick that maybe a cage might be okay, but I want to see this title be given to the competitor, the singles wrestler who most deserves it. And as far as I'm concerned, the best way to do that is one-on-one, mano a mano, in basic circumstances, you know, by the rules of wrestling, by the gentleman's rules. And so, Nick Aldis, by all means, he defends the title to the most worthy, point A, and under the circumstances that best preserve the integrity of the championship. I don't see any other way about that.
Yeah, and WWE front row, I agree with him, what he just said in the chat, that, you know, we need to see the title, but it doesn't need to be defended. And I think Aldis has done a good job of that. The title is never hidden. He comes out, he cuts promos every week. So we see the title, it's burned in our mind, but we don't see it defended so much that it becomes devalued. So exactly right. And he's talking about Lesnar being criticized, and the point he makes too is also correct, that he was criticized because the title wasn't even present on TV. It was just gone. You only saw it. And so there's that's what the title means. That you have an obligation, if you're the title holder, to be present and to have the title be shown off. You don't have an obligation to defend it every time there's a TV taping or an event.
Right. Defend it when appropriate. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what I was thinking just now too. Like you addressed the exact thing, is that, yeah, Nick Aldis does show up. He's out there at the podium. He's cradling that 10 pounds of gold. God, if you go back in the Cody Rhodes stuff during the 10 pounds of gold thing, during that, like Cody Rhodes has one of my favorite parts. I still remember from him talking about it. It's like, he's like, I got to win that title just so I can cradle it, just so I could like hold it like in my arm during interviews. Like my dad did it, like Ric Flair did it, like Nick Aldis does it right now. I got to win that title and put it like cradled in my elbow, just like talking and displaying that title. It was a weird, like just a weird like thing that like a lot of people probably don't think about it. But now it's like, it's implanted in my brain just from him talking about it. Just carrying that belt. And Nick Aldis is out there. Nick Aldis is out there at least every other week, like holding that belt, literally just like that, like holding it and talking about how valuable that belt is. He doesn't have to have a match. He's just letting you know who he is, and somebody's going to have to earn a spot to get in the ring with him.
So there's another subtle, I believe, strategic thing that the NWA does, is what you just mentioned, is that the belt is typically cradled like that. It's held, you know, at your side, almost like it's your child. If you watch other promotions, that's not how the belts are treated. They're thrown over shoulders. They're slung around. They're held in one hand. Like they're treated like a toy. And that's a subconscious thing, again, that devalues that title. Whereas every time we see the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, the real World's Heavyweight Championship, it's being treated like the representation that it is of this is meaningful, you know?
Right.
Have you ever seen that belt? Have you ever seen the 10 pounds of gold that like Flair donated to the WWE? Like,
Gosh, man, it's like missing pieces. It's that the earth is dented in. It's battle worn, but it's so like, it's almost like if you've ever been to the British Museum in the UK, man, and you go in and you see like the Gutenberg Bible. You see it. I'll give you a better illustration. If you've been to DC, you go into the Smithsonian and they have the Star Spangled Banner, the original Star Spangled Banner displayed in this big room. When you walk in, you don't expect it to come up on you so fast. When you walk in, it like hits you. And my wife and I went there 2 summers ago. It was the year that the Nationals hosted the All-Star game. And we were there that weekend, and we got to go get tickets to see the Star Spangled Banner. And we walked in this room, man, and like I look over. My wife is a very strong woman. She's not very emotional and this and that, but I look over and she's just like weeping. It's like the force of it just overtook you. And it's like when you see that 10 pounds of gold, there's a certain like power about it it's almost existential. I hate to be too philosophical here, but I mean, I think you guys understand what I'm saying.
No. I don't think you're doing that at all, Robert. Because I mean, the point that I was getting to with that is that with that 10 pounds of gold, I mean, Flair donated that to the WWE, and I think it's like it's framed like it's in like an encased thing. You can see pictures of it, like it's protected. It was like the one that like he won from Harley. Like it's like, you know, not to knock what Nick has. So I mean, it was like the first one that's beat up and battered and torn and all this stuff. So as you can imagine, you can't keep doing that for forever. This one's framed, and the WWE has it. And from my understanding, Triple H just took it because it wasn't doing anything else, and Triple H has it hanging in his office right now. And it's like, that's a whole other level of a thing. Like that's what the 10 pounds of gold is. That's how much it means. Like
Triple H is a major NWA fan. He's a
yeah. So if the world was a different place,
yeah.
Sorry, but you could totally see that like a guy like that also appreciates exactly what that belt is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's tough, man. It's cool to see the value in it. WWE front rows of the chat is like, great. Now I need a replica 10 pounds of gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got one over here that's like a super fake one I got from like Iran or somewhere that I bought for like 200 and something bucks, and it doesn't look nearly as cool. When I was at Crockett Cup 2019, I got to hold the real thing, and I was like, oh god dang, my stupid replica is nowhere as cool as this.
Right.
All right, anything else in the chat? What do you guys want to talk about? Nothing else? I mean, we probably need to wrap this thing up. It's close to midnight. It's close to midnight.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson.
I wonder if is Lagana still in the chat?
Oh my gosh. I hope not.
Well, no, I mean, you laugh it off, but Lagana's like hanging out, doing Lagana stuff with his cat. Like his monkey is just walking around. Lagana's editing together footage. And I fully believe Lagana's a all hours of the night kind of guy. Like he's just like hanging out. He gave me stuff about like his heat had to come tomorrow, which makes me more intrigued to see what inside the NWA is. But he was definitely in the chat room tonight, like hanging out. For what it's worth, for all of us after hours people, I dropped the line to Nick again tonight, and Nick's like, sorry dude, gotta drive, I'll be watching. So Aldous was out there. So I mean, you know, people are Fortson wants to know, is this Whiskey Gary time that we're talking about? I feel like I've been worse than this.
It's
probably.
yeah. This is tame.
This is tame whiskey carry time. Yeah, I don't know. Chris Johnson's in the chat. You guys don't know Chris Johnson, but you guys will, and Robert especially, you will appreciate Chris Johnson. He's a good dude. He's an educator. Met him at NWA Power.
I've been reading his comments all night. He seems like a very like-minded person. So this is someone I look forward to meeting. Shout out to you, Chris Johnson.
He brought his dad to the last tapings, and we got to hang out with his dad and him at and they're super interested in us starting up a more historical perspective, because his dad is like a super NWA fan from way back. So we'll get to that, guys. We're gonna wrap this thing up because I don't know how this, as the NWA puts out a video that's less than 3 hours long. I don't know if we ever will, but as long as you guys are fans and you guys are here, that's all we care about.
So we expound on their show was 30 minutes, and our commentary is like
we're still going. We're still going right now. We started at 8:30.
Yeah, I left some of my notes out, so this was the shortened version.
Folks, if you guys legitimately, if you like hanging out with us, like, let everybody know. Let them know they should join live, so we can just keep the conversation active, and we're slowly evolving this thing. Maybe we'll get better at quickly moving. The thing is, I feel like the excuse I'm using is that a lot of things are just out of whack right now, and a lot of new things are getting introduced, and a lot of context needs to be introduced along with the new things, and a lot of backstory has to happen. So that's why it's lasting so long. I at the NWA Pod, hit subscribe, hit the bell. At R Stinson for whatever, and at Hey It's Will, and at This Is Gary Horn. You guys got anything else before I hit?
Yeah, I like how you were real confident about your Twitter handle, but with us it's like, yeah, R Stinson 4 or whatever. Hey, it's Dale.
I feel like the confident one was at the NWA Pod, which is now officially our. Look, MFer. I started at the NWA Pod, and I'm throwing it out there for all three of us to broadly use however we would like and to consider ourselves part of. I'm not the one sitting there with my daughter talking about, like, we tuned in every night to watch the after show and have them acknowledge us. Your daughter should feel like she's
I'll work
cool.
out to you, brother. I got sweaty to you, man. Don't come at me with that.
This is getting really
Ladies and gentlemen, Whiskey Gary.
Wait, how is that Whiskey Gary and not Whiskey Rob? Like,
No.
he's talking about working out to me right now.
Rob's been on Innocent Gun, the original barrel aged
Yeah.
whiskey barrel ale, bro.
Let's put over our drinks. I got two of these left. My Sycamore mountain candy.
I'll tell
ale.
you something about what Will's doing right now. Like, Will's like just like sporting those, like, oh, just casually, but he's drinking that Sycamore stuff. I've had that Sycamore stuff, and what is that? The mountain candy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it. Delicious. Like, it's a beer that I really enjoy, but that's like the least cheapest beer in the frickin' Sphinx. Like, Will is taking, like, you could get two for like $4 if you want to just like hit some Sierra Nevada stuff, which is fine. But like, if you want to go to the Sycamore, like mountain candy, you gotta spend some cash. So Will, again, can't hide money. This guy over here trying to be like the coolest guy in the room, but I guarantee
I got that
he
Daily
paid,
Show money.
Yeah, he got the Daily Show money. I guarantee you he paid like $4 for that tall boy of mountain candy.
Worth it.
No, it's delicious. I'm just saying, like, if you only do it every like once a week. But if you're doing it every day, Will, you're gonna have to just slip down to the to the cheap stuff. You got to come down here with the rest of us.
You're drinking like a $40 bottle of liquor.
It's only $40 because it's wait, how many ounces is this? I don't know. It's a big ass bottle of whiskey. So it's $40. Conor McGregor, believe me, I'm not like his biggest fan or anything, but god dang if that Irish whiskey of his is not delicious.
I did switch from Jameson to proper number 12.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it legit just is good. Chris Johnson says you got to get the Gary Toilet whiskey. I don't even know what that means. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the quote, "I got sweaty to you, man." In there. That's
See, now y'all taking that junk out of context, man. Y'all taking that out.
I feel like that's the no. I feel like that's like the blow up like broadcast ad for Stinson Vision.
There you go.
I got sweaty to you, man. Oh man! All right, I'm gonna end the live broadcast. We love you guys.
Hey, thanks everyone.
McKinney,
We appreciate
Chris
it.
Johnson. You guys are great. This is all part of hanging out with us live that we let this go on so long. Thank you so much. I don't know how to end it though. So